people. It is Tuesday, the 11th of March. Welcome to TDA, the day after, your favourite news platform and the home of popular culture as defined by the culture. I am one of your hosts for today, Martin Royalty.
And they call me E-Man, the pro-black activist, TDA producer and news analyst, melanin jam-packed.
That is right. Brent is here as well, as always.
Good morning. I am absolutely shattered. My entire soul and body is
Not the soul.
tapped.
Tired?
Tapped.
Tapped as in tired or tapped as in...
Tapped tired. And
Okay.
it was Monday yesterday, the beginning of the week. It's supposed to happen at the end of the week.
Oh my gosh, Monday took me out. Do you know how long it took me to get home from here yesterday?
How long?
2 hours.
Why 2 hours?
Rotherhithe Tunnel was closed. Blackwall Tunnel was closed. There was a man on the bridge on Tower Bridge. So I was just driving blindly. So when I was going, it told me not to go via Blackwall Tunnel. So I thought, okay, something must be happening. That's fine. That's fine. By the time I got on the road of Rotherhithe, where you're going straight and then you just turn left into it, what's the big flashing light saying Rotherhithe closed? And then they were like, and Blackwall Tunnel closed as well. And then I thought, okay, fine. But I kept wondering why Google Maps and Waze weren't rerouting me to like go via Tower Bridge, nothing. Then I had to go on Twitter because they can alert you about everything because they don't give you direct alerts about. Someone needs to do that where you actually get like direct traffic alerts on your phone. Like I don't mind that as a notification.
Yeah.
Anyway, went on Twitter and see apparently Tower Bridge is closed too. So I'm just driving. Like I'm just going. Because obviously, how the hell am I supposed to know how to get home from here? And everything that links east to south is closed. Then I thought, okay, do you know, I'll go via central London. For fair. Congestion charge. I have things to do today. By the time I got home, and then when on my way there, Tower Bridge opened. So it routed me back to Tower Bridge and whatnot. Honestly, I was done. I was honestly, by like 1 o'clock yesterday, I decided to put this day in rice. It's just not working. Like I was really over. I couldn't believe it. And it just made me think this is what you guys want to charge people for. Because apparently Blackwall Tunnel had been closed since 8:30 in the morning. So imagine the people that were on there. It's been closed because apparently a lorry must have done something, driven into something or whatever. So they had to fix it in real time. Rotherhithe, I don't know what happened in there. I think I saw an ambulance. I don't know what happened in there. And then Tower Bridge, there was a man on the bridge.
Threatening to jump.
I don't know what he was threatening to do. I hope he's well. Amen. But it just made me think that this is what you guys want to pay. Do you want to charge people to use? Like the transportation in London, I'm sorry. I know it's nice and whatnot, but when one thing shuts down, everything else is just
gone. Yeah.
That's it. And then it made me think of those films you watch where like there's like, you know when like there's some kind of terror attack or something, and everyone needs the bridges to. We're done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's
we're actually done.
It's a wrap.
There's no way to get out. That's honestly what yesterday made me think about. I just started seeing those 2012 movies and all that kind of stuff. And I just thought, oh my gosh, if something like that ever happened, we're actually done for.
Yeah.
Because we were going to go on line bikes. Honestly, I was over it yesterday. I just said, you know what, fair. So Brent, I relate. I relate to the Monday madness. That's unfortunately.
Insane. And you know, in less than a month, I believe that's when they're going to start charging.
1st of April. I know the
First
date.
April?
1st of April. 1st of April.
For some reason, I thought it was the 7th.
No.
Yeah, see? There you go.
Bang on, they said new month, new bills.
And then more taxes too. So
crazy.
It's a great day.
I'm just over it. I'm like, I'm over it. Just in general, over it. But anyway, what can we do?
But
how are you anyway?
Yeah, can't complain.
Yeah.
Can't complain here.
Of that.
The sun's coming out bit by bit, so
it is actually, which is nice.
Yeah.
Weather dropped a bit today though, to be fair, but and I'm here for it. I'm here for the sun. I hope we have more of a summer though, because last summer it was not summer. It was cold. It's cold as heck. So hopefully this summer is actually hot and warm or whatever the case is.
But your month is always kind of hot though.
Yeah, but last year it wasn't. It's like.
Sorry.
Well, part of your month.
Sorry. What did you just say?
You said my month.
Oh.
Yeah. What did you say?
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it.
I don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it either. But yeah. So yeah, to be fair, yeah. But then I feel like it's warmer than the other months. But then last one wasn't like because I like a heat wave.
I love how you enunciate. Because
You know
that
what,
was
Brent?
wild, Emmanuel.
I'm confused.
Before he said I had a hot mouth.
There you go.
Mouth.
Yes. Damn! Yeah, this is what. Oh, you missed this yesterday. Oh, he's been having a field day with that soundboard. I don't know how we're gonna have to confiscate. We're gonna have to find a way.
I am delivered.
Shout out to Black Rob on that one.
Oh
Do you
man.
know what? I hope this is not why you were tired today. Like I don't. This is not. It's not justifiable.
No. It actually stemmed from Sunday.
Oh, is it fair?
Night. Yeah.
I do believe that. I believe that to have a good week, you have to sleep well from Sunday into Monday. If I don't, it's long after that. Just saying it. Anyway, we're here. Brent, do you wanna?
Yes. Let me just do the roll call real quick. Energy, good morning. TT, Gin and Gist, T, 9 Ether, Imi Snow Globe, Abimi, DCF Mux, Davina, Priz, Von, Iman B, Bex, Ruby Tuesday, Mr. Ashlows. Emmanuel, who? Your friends and whatnot. What nickname do they have for you?
Your friends and whatnot. Aren't you one of the friends?
Any. Obviously, I call you E-Man, right?
Yeah.
What do your other friends call you?
What do I call you? I call you Manuel.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, E-Man, E. What else?
You're so lazy. If we're both in the room and someone says E, I'm turning back to you. Come on.
I can't think of anything at the moment,
All right, okay, cool.
What are your friends?
I only ask because there is another E-Man in the chat, so I'm like,
How is it?
yeah, when you see your namesake, what happens? Because if Brent just
You
pops
do
up,
Spider-Man me.
Brent
That's
pops
what
up,
you
I'm
do.
like, Mr. Ashlos Von, Iti Bambino, who else? Leon Brown. Who else we got? EL, the man from Uncle.
There you
Baggy, Natty, Life of Bodge. He switched up his picture. Let me see what is. Let's open up and see what's what. Look at this handsome man. Shads and all. It's a nice colour suit.
Sides and shades.
Johannes Williams, Chijoke, Sam L. Who else? Black Rob, Dr. Amani, Star Crow, Black Lad Travel. When you coming into the studio, bro?
We needed to do for a conversation. Was it last week? Oh, it was a race play conversation. I wanted to know
man,
what
you'd
his
have been
thoughts
perfect
were.
for it.
Just
Absolute perfect.
put it out there. Weekly Black Lad Travels. Please let us know.
Yes, man. Nams, Ed, and it can't be the first time I see you is at the live show. It's impossible. That
You
is
Black
impossible.
Lad?
Yeah,
it can't
that's
be.
impossible. Crud Crew,
That's if he's in the country.
Lauren Louise, Antonia Hansen, and Crucial J. You know what Lauren Louise came through the other day, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Oh, nice.
Absolute superstar.
I miss Lauren every
Pick up
single time
Lauren,
she
man.
steps in this room.
Yeah.
What, she was on another show, yeah? Another podcast?
What?
What do you mean?
No, I miss her every time she comes on this, like in...
He didn't know that she was here. Can you imagine?
Yeah, but you said
I'm
that,
the
though.
producer. And I did, but he didn't register it as that.
Hey, buddy.
What, when?
Is he?
You're not helping yourself. Last week, I think.
Last week.
Yeah, last week.
Do you mean the day she was opposite me?
That's true. He was here.
Can you imagine? A whole executive
Look
producer.
at him now thinking,
Look at this guy. This is what they do.
what's it? Yeah. Can't
They
scratch your tongue, is it?
always-
Mute.
Brent.
Wait,
Not a
Talk
black
up,
man
my
trying to take a
friend.
black man down.
this is crazy.
This is what they do.
That's true. It was Eman and Lauren in the studio.
What a diabolical thing to do. You see what I'm saying?
My apologies. That was crap.
You were too fast as
This
well,
is
you
why I was
know.
waiting.
You were too fast as well, you know. So quick.
It's as though it was just me and her talking for some reason.
Can you?
To be fair to you, the first part, I wasn't there in the morning, innit? Well, obviously, the whole damn thing was in the morning. But the first, hour, that's why.
Fair.
Okay.
Davina said, did you know there's a new season of ABBA? I've been watching it. Do you know, yeah, that show is so flipping genius. So great, so comedic. Like, I just love it so much. I just love it so much. It's just so sensational. Anyway, there's a new season of ABBA. I think they wrapped up now, actually. Because they had their
I'm up
party.
to date.
Yeah, season
I'm up
4
to
in it. Yeah, I believe so. Love it.
All right. So let's get into the comments from our community. I
What
love
happened?
when it is that you'll leave comments on Spotify and YouTube, and they will always be featured
Yes,
until it gets ridiculous, obviously. So, who we going with? Emmanuel or MVP?
Oh, what custom people?
No, you want to read them?
Oh yes, sorry.
That's all right.
I thought because you said that you were going to read them. My bad.
My
I thought you've had moments where you've read them. So you don't want to read these ones now. Okay, let's see why. Ahmed.
No. I'm doing like three things.
Fair.
I'm wondering, was there moments when I read them?
Yeah,
I'm
there
thinking, was there? It's normally y'all that read them.
I'm fair. Yeah, take our jobs on time. All right. So Ahmed A_1909 says, shout out to Brent and Esther, man. I don't know how you guys are this funny and entertaining every morning. Aww.
God did.
Big up you.
God did. Hallelujah. You should have put that. Daniel Miguez says, the male host isn't thinking. Was this just today's episode?
Huh?
Was this today's episode?
Yeah.
Do you know it's to call Brent the male host when you know damn well it's Brent?
Nice. It's maybe somebody who just looked at the
Tuning, I
title and came
suppose.
in. Yeah.
Fair. Okay, so the male host isn't thinking. Many dishes and ingredients are shared by Chinese, Japanese, and Korean people. Just because they all eat rice, fermented foods, etc., doesn't mean all their food is the same. I don't recall you saying all food is the
But
same.
that's why I'm laughing.
Fair, Daniel.
That's why I'm laughing.
Fair, Daniel. 24 Lou says, I find the conversation about telling African Americans to know more about African history hilarious because most of the people from the diaspora do not know about African history themselves. Africa is a continent with 54 different countries, all which have hundreds of tribes. Even as someone part of the Congolese diaspora, where there are nearly 250 tribes, I am learning new things all the time because each tribe has their own history that is also different from the tribe I descend from. African history is very complex, from colonialism to the pre-colonial states and kingdoms where the modern African nations, as we know them today, did not exist, and a lot of Black British people have basic knowledge on maybe one or two countries back home, but think they can tell another group of African descendants to do more history. You should use my apostrophe. You should use your apostrophes, please. It's nearly laughable. As part of the diaspora, we must all do more to learn as much as possible, but Black Brits trying to act like we are more knowledgeable is crazy because I can confidently say the majority are not. I agree with that. I think Black African diasporans, right, they think because they've been to a few hall parties, all of a sudden, and use a love at Ashra B once in a while, you guys think all of a sudden that you know everything. And then you speak to Americans in the same way, but you also can't speak the language. You also, like, it's just a lot. To me, it's a whole thing. I agree. Big up 24 Lou. Coke and Buns, it's a nice combo, says Keith Lee came to the UK to try and rage bait fry-ups, pie and mash, and jacket potatoes. That's what I was thinking about yesterday. Pie and mash. There's actually loads of Black Michelin places he didn't even try. He went Borough Market, but didn't go to Accra. What a loser. Oh, it's not up to that.
What was his agenda though? Was he there to look at British or Black British?
But that's the problem though. This is what the conversation, part of the conversation was about yesterday, where obviously he's a Black guy, so he's always going to gravitate towards the Blackness first, to be fair. But the foods he's, like, with British food, for the most part, unless it's English food, British food involves other cultures. Do you get what I mean? So if he was here to try British food, of course he was going to try a jerk. Of course he was going to go to Trinidadian restaurant. Of course he's going to go and try then some pie and mash and whatever. Like, it's going to be a combination, but I don't think it's that deep, man. Unlike Italy. The man that serves the Lord. What was it? Toyin says, Esther is right. The rom-coms have been making me, and then stick emoji, but I've been forcing myself to watch because I can't give up on love. LOL. No girls saying, but honestly, they're killing me, man. I don't know how much I have left to give. There's a lot of comments here. Oh, 1 second, y'all. Lil's Sco, the bass god, I think, that says, damn, Stacey could never be a tether. Tether, sorry. Stacey could never be a tether, an African queen with common sense. I think that's good because you did the horns.
Yes.
Monia made it, I think that says. It says a lot of so-called African Americans were already in America before the so-called transatlantic slave trade. That could explain the different hair texture as well. Fair. Christian Frizzle says soul food is specifically African American and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone loves African American culture but love to downplay it. Fair. Barry _732 says, I am FBA. What does that mean?
Foundational Black American.
That's different to African American.
Yeah. It's a relatively new
It's a
movement.
lot of sex. Like, fair.
But they're making a distinction between them and those who came via the transatlantic slave trade.
So were they there before the transatlantic?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair.
Actually, no. Does it include those from the slave trade as well, Brent?
I actually believe that.
It does, yeah?
Yes, let me just double check.
Yeah, it does include. So yeah, I was mixing them up with ADOS. But basically, they make a distinction between them and people like us, for example, who are first generation. But if you've been there and you're actually part of what it is to be an American as well. Yeah, they're making that distinction. Yeah.
Okay. Big up you, Barry. Shall we wait for you to read that first, or shall I read this comment?
Nah, keep going.
Okay.
Related to African descendants of... Yeah, it's connected to the ADOS people. Maybe it's a different derivative of it.
Yeah, they're slightly different.
Nice. So Barry says, I am FBA, and to be honest, the argument is mad disrespectful. You all really say we have no culture, but at the same time cosplay and try to diminish it. Make it make sense. We respect everybody, but respect goes both ways. Fair. And Belinda says, I wished I could have called and backed Stacey because I don't like how you were ganging up on her. Yo. Belinda says, I wish I could have called and backed Stacey because I don't like how you all were ganging up on her. British people, if you do not choose to learn Black American history and see why they think and move the way they do, then don't comment on it. Stacey did so good explaining everything. To be fair, Stacey did really well, actually. Explaining things and, educating people.
A foundational Black American is any person classified as Black who can trace their bloodline lineage back to the American system of slavery.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. Well, thank you very much for that information. Thank you all for the comments as well. Please continue to leave them. And while you're leaving the comments, make sure you like the video as well. And, of course, subscribe to the channel.
Let me just put this up. I would love to know a short summary on Iman's thoughts of yesterday's topic. However, we would love to do that. However,
we would love to do that.
There were many different things talked about
discussed
yesterday. It wasn't just one thing, right? I will show Emmanuel the video and have him just respond, but there's no way we can chop up all the different things that we moved through yesterday.
We got a packed show today. We've got a lovely guest host coming through as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing another time.
Okay.
The day after for a reason.
And it was in yesterday's...
Oh, you want to do it now?
Wait, you gave us the link.
What are you going to do in your group chat?
You gave us the link. The video with your aunties could never. Big up our babies over there.
Big up our babes. Just so funny because I actually remember seeing the video, but I was in the middle of something so I couldn't watch it. But I remember someone must have posted and done a stitch or something. And I remember seeing Shade in the comments like, hey, the podcast is cool. I say, yes, girl. You better promo that. Big up Shade and the girls.
When I first saw it, though, I was thinking, is this just an issue of semantics, though? Because it seemed to me, again, obviously, I may need to have my thingy refreshed. But it seemed to me as though the American one was basically talking about soul food being exclusively and uniquely American, innit?
Yep.
So you can't then say, oh, there's a British, we've got our own version of soul food. Or say, yeah, we've got our soul food. But I don't think the Auntie's pod was talking about, is exactly the same. It's just more so the titling that you're giving to something. But what they're talking about is something that comes from the culture, in the same way soul food comes from the culture of being Black American. That's basically how I saw it. I don't think they were trying to diminish anything. But obviously, I know there were a couple more other points in those videos, innit? But I can't remember. So, yeah, we'd have to play it, Brent.
All right. Okay. So let's jump into this morning's first headlines.
All right, people. So our first set of headlines. An oil tanker carrying jet fuel and a cargo ship carrying highly toxic chemicals burst into flames after colliding in the North Sea. A major rescue operation was launched following the collision near the Humber estuary shortly before 10 a.m. on Monday. All the crew of the US-registered Stena Immaculate have been accounted for after they were forced to abandon ship when explosions ripped through the tanker. However, one of the 14 crew members of the Portuguese-flagged Solon cargo ship is missing. More than 30 people have been rescued from the ships and taken to Grimsby, but it's not clear if anyone was seriously injured. Our next headline, and the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has been addressing a packed room of Labour MPs in Parliament this evening. He spent much of his time talking about Ukraine and defence, but also talked tough about welfare ahead of what are widely expected to be some big cuts in a spring statement later this month. Starmer told his party that the country was in the worst of all worlds situation, with the benefit system discouraging people from working and the taxpayer footing a bill that will hit £70 billion by 2030. He said 1 in 8 young people are not in education, training or work, something he described as unsustainable and unfair. While he said that the safety net will be there for those who really need it. This is the Labour Party and we believe in the dignity of work. He said he is not afraid to take the big decisions on welfare. And our last headline, the Home Secretary has rejected calls from the family of MP Sir David Amos for a public inquiry into his murder. In a letter addressed to Lady Julia Amos and Katie Amos, Yvette Cooper said that it was hard to see how an inquiry would be able to go beyond the killer, Ali Harbi Ali's trial, and recently published Prevent Learning Review. Katie Amos, who's the daughter of Sir David, said Cooper's words were adding salt onto her open wound, branding them unacceptable and insulting. Sir David, who was a Tory MP for South and West, was stabbed to death by Ali, who was a fanatic of a so-called Islamic State group at a constituency surgery on the 15th of October 2021. At a press conference on Monday, she said, how can the government justify holding inquiries for other tragic events like Southport and Nottingham and yet refuse to investigate the very system that failed my father? Ali had been referred to Prevent 7 years before he fatally stabbed Sir David 20 times at Belfair's Methodist Church in Leigh-on-Sea. He was sentenced to a whole life order at the Old Bailey in 2022, having been found guilty of murder and preparing acts of terrorism. And that's it for the headlines.
All right, let's get into the topic of the day. All right, before we start, I did mention we've got a lovely guest host today, so please let people know who you are.
Good morning, my name is Esseo. Nice to meet you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Esseo, Esseo, that's my name.
Thank you for coming. Thank you,
appreciate you.
Okay, perfect. Lovely. We're going to get into our topic of the day, and of course you can chime in throughout the show, and then in the word and road segment, we'll talk about what you do.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that sounds great.
Perfect. How are you, by the way? I didn't ask you. You asked how we were.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm literally more or less fresh off of a flight from Nigeria.
Literally.
Darkened everything, you know, which is good.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Good.
Nice.
All right. Iman, what are we talking about today?
Oh
dear.
You know what, yeah? It might be a serious topic, somewhat, right? Obviously, we ain't gonna spend too long on it. But the actual clip is a comedic one, right?
Is it? Oh, gosh.
So, Brent, if you don't mind, can you play the clip, please? I can't remember the name of the show, but it's a very popular one. It's
okay?
with that Jewish guy, I can't remember.
Not Andrew Schultz, is it?
No.
Imagine Netflix had a cheek to ask me if I want to watch his special. I said, of course not. I disliked it. I wish there was a hate button. Silly man.
You know the sex of the child?
We're gonna have a little baby boy.
A little baby boy. How about that? Have you thought about the skin color at all?
I'm sorry?
You know, the tone. Would you prefer it's a little darker? I would imagine you might prefer it to be a little darker as opposed to lighter, no?
Well, I mean, I've never even thought about it. But I guess like darker, I guess.
Yeah, I would think.
What?
Right? Yeah, that makes sense.
What?
You prefer him to be
Prefer it. Like, I mean, if somebody's asking me, like, if I had to choose, I'd say like
Why
darker.
are you choosing?
You probably like it a little lighter, maybe, no?
No, I don't think I want my baby to be lighter. I haven't thought about that at all. I'm surprised that you've thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
I mean, well, I hadn't thought about it, but asked the question. I mean,
I know, but you could have said I don't have a preference, but you said you'd prefer him to be darker.
you don't have a preference.
No, I don't have a preference.
Say somebody put a gun to your head. Said, do you want your baby to be lighter or darker? What would you choose?
Why is someone holding a gun to my head
It's
and
a
asking
hypothetical.
what shade I would prefer my son to be?
I don't know. So
Why is he putting a gun to her head?
He wants to find out what your preference is. So you're walking down the street with Will, and he snatches you into the backseat of the car, and now he's got a gun to your head. You want a lighter or a darker baby? What shade? What shade?
Get away from me.
What color is the guy holding the gun?
He's mocha, right down the middle.
Right down the middle.
50-50. You want it lighter or darker?
I would say on the lighter side.
That's
See, so you have.
But I had a gun to my head. You didn't have a gun to your head. We're sitting in the nice living room. We're getting ginger ales.
I'm proud to be black. I think you'd be proud to be black too.
Of course. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't feel.
I'm not wrong.
I don't feel good.
Okay,
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much
Thanks
for
for
your hospitality.
coming. I'm sorry about all this.
Thanks for having us.
I'll get that watch fixed.
What the fuck is the matter with you?
What? Do you know the sex of the
No,
child?
what show is this? I feel like I want to watch it just for the shits and giggles.
Oh, what's it called? It's an old show. It's got, like,
I recognize
The
him.
loads of
Spite
series.
Store.
The what?
The Spite Store.
Okay.
You sure?
Well, it
That doesn't
says
sound familiar.
No, they ain't the show. They ain't
it
the
says it on the caption.
Oh, does it? Oh, okay, fair.
Season 10, episode 10.
Season 10. It gives me It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia vibes. You know, there's like dark, it's just all the isms
That's
present
it.
in the show. What's it called?
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's what the show's called.
Yeah.
Which is it?
Oh,
Curb Your-
it's
Right
also Larry David.
yes.
And it's also
that's it,
comedy,
man.
humor, explore page.
So is it called Explore Page? Your humor? Or what was
So
it?
basically,
Shitting what?
I'm reading out the caption. It says
Oh,
the
okay.
Spite Store. Maybe it's the episode.
Yeah, that's the name of the
Okay,
episode.
cool.
And then
Okay, yeah.
the show is called Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's it.
That makes more sense.
What did you say? Curb Your Hero?
No.
Oh,
As
enthusiasm.
in, for me,
No, even man, like that. Well, okay.
he said
fair.
the same thing. As
Oh,
in
okay,
Curb
okay.
Your Enthusiasm. Yeah.
Yeah, watch it. See what's going on.
All right. So, you guys obviously seen the clip, yeah?
I imagine that's how the royal family had that conversation with Meghan Markle. Every time I see, I don't know if you saw, there was a picture online on Twitter, and it was basically, it started off, it was a white woman, right? And obviously she'd been with a black guy, and her mum was there, and her mum was also white, obviously. And she'd obviously had kids with a black guy. But then they got darker every generation.
I saw this picture.
And I was like, this is definitely what the royal family thought was going to happen. Just Meghan
expecting
Markle
that.
comes in, and he's just Negroes everywhere. Crazy.
But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Do you feel as though everyone has a preference? Is it wrong to even have a preference? Because obviously they were acting all flustered at first. They were thinking, you know, we just want the baby to be healthy. You know, everyone's those ones.
Do you know, boy and girl are just healthy,
Healthy,
baby.
yeah, exactly. But when the gun was to their head, they chose. Does everyone have a preference? Is it wrong to have a preference though?
I don't think it's wrong to have a preference. I only think it's wrong to have a preference if you talk down on the other, on people that don't fall into the preference that you have.
Okay.
But I think deep down people do have preferences though. I think given like everything that we deal with in society and stuff,
Yeah.
like say for example, dark-skinned women, women who would want their children to also be dark-skinned so they can pour so much love into them and blah, 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 blah. But then there are women who would remember maybe some of the hate and stuff that they've been through and they feel like they might want a different kind of outcome for their children. So I feel like deep down people do have preferences. Because I guess if you, I think deep down. Because then that preference sometimes dictates who people end up.
Exactly. Yep.
Because say for I was going to say Christy, for example. We know how Christy's going to be.
Yep.
Do you get what I mean? Like, it's just, I feel like it's,
So do you feel like in interracial couples, so same situation as that, they have preferences deep down? Because obviously they'll
Most of
act
the
as though they
time.
don't. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously I'm a black man, I like white women. In fact, don't clip that up, Brent. And all that sort of stuff, and vice versa. But deep down, well, at least based on this clip, they wanted the baby to look more like themselves.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, is there something to that though?
Do-
What's your thoughts on that?
You know what I'm thinking? I feel like with the preference kind of conversation, I feel like it depends where or what shapes the preference, personally, in my opinion. Because if you had a blank state, if you were a baby, and then obviously you can't respond about your preference as a baby, but would you be geared towards a certain way? Or is it as a result of the things that have shaped you and the culture you're in and the media you've seen?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm not sure what's actually from your body versus how you're socialized, I guess.
100%.
Because that reminds me what you just said actually of that experiment when they make the kids pick the doll they think is the ugliest, and that you find that they all basically, most of them pick the lighter dolls because they associate that with being beautiful, and it's sick there because they're 5 years old, that they're so young, probably can't even spell beautiful yet.
Yeah.
But they will tell you that this is what they think is more attractive. Yeah. What's your question again?
But that's on mic. Episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
What was that gone?
Somebody told me that it was off. Thank you very much, that somebody. I could have said your name.
I can't just say the name. Yes.
Look, because
it's so weird.
you know how them people just name drop. I don't want to be
That's not name dropping. Oh, is it the person who told you?
Yes. Wait.
Beyonce who told you.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I have to say the name. No, I don't have to say the name.
No, you don't have to say the name. Oh, big up Taser every time.
Every time.
Taser is not a hater. But I love Taser, man. Don't be silly.
I'm not a person just name
No.
drop stuff, innit?
To be fair, it would have sounded like your name dropping, to be fair. But not when I do it.
That's so silly. God damn it.
Big
Shout
up
out to you,
Taser.
Yeah, I was just basically saying, like, do you feel there's something to it? But you know what? To go back to your earlier point about the things, and even what you were saying as well, about the things that shape people. If somebody is dark-skinned and they want their child to be light-skinned, is that in every situation a bad thing?
I feel bad for them though. But because I feel like sometimes people expect everyone else to be on the same level of growth that they're on. So yes, I understand that there was a time, or still is to be fair, because you guys have been talking about it a lot and how people apparently think, oh, dark skinned women are men. Wow. I'll get to that on Word and Roads. But anyway. Sorry, I'm finding the urge to really get into it, but I'll get to that on Word and Roads. But I think people experience different degrees of colorism, right? When it's at a dark skinned person. And I think that you can't always dictate how people's trauma ends up shaping them. And so you might have one person who has been able to build their confidence and go against whatever people's society has deemed as beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And they live in the dark skinness and they absolutely love it and whatever else. And that's, of course, great. But I would show grace to someone who hasn't been able to get there on their personal journey. Do you get what I mean? So I don't think it's necessarily a good thing, because I think I'm always going to look at it from sad eyes. I'm always going to look at it from pitiful eyes of, I wish society hadn't done that to you for you to believe that you're not beautiful as a dark-skinned person, man or woman. So I will always look at it from a feeling bad for them place. And I can give them grace for that. But I think for me, where I would draw the line is then how it is that you decide to raise your children moving on from that. Because whether your children are light skin or they're dark skin or whatever the case is, they might be light skin, but with like black features, for example.
Exactly.
The world doesn't like black features either. Do you get what I mean? So it would depend on how it is, then you then raise that child. Like, it's one thing for you not have been able to do the self-work on yourself, but at least make sure that you do not pass on your phobias or the criticisms that you have of yourself on your children. That's important. So that's where my empathy will be capped. Because, okay, society treats you like that, but why do you think it's then fair for you to essentially be that bully in that child's life the way society bullied you? So that's where I would,
Is it always possible to know that society made you feel this type of way, and to also, I guess, know that you're passing this on to your kid? Because if you don't necessarily know that society's shaped your thinking, right? You don't know that you're passing this on to your child, and you just say, I just want the best for you, and da-da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? You disapprove of every dark-skinned boyfriend they bring home, but applaud every light-skinned one. You know what I'm saying? But you don't necessarily know, if you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but I think that this is my thing, I feel like, you know where I stand about people having children, child. I think people have way too many children when they're not ready to having children, and I think it does more damage than good. But I also believe that as an adult, as you grow up, the things that you know about yourself, the things that you learn, the things that you know about religion, about school, every single thing is taught to you. Essentially, you don't really have your own mind. But I believe that as an adult, at some point, you got to start thinking for yourself. So it's not wild for you to be expected to know that the way you see beauty and all these things has come from somewhere. You just have to sit down and think. Just literally, just turn your phone off for one afternoon and think. Very quickly, you will come to realize that the things you deem important, the things you deem attractive or whatever else has come from somewhere else. So there's that. So everybody should really, as a base, always know that. But I do believe that people do project on their children without realizing it. So I think a lot of people should do therapy, but that's enough conversation for another day.
Do you guys feel as though if anybody gets with somebody that's lighter than them or darker than them, Dave, it's a conscious thing? Do you feel there's always something in the back of their mind that says, okay, cool. Not necessarily trying to play a game or whatever, or to get something they want, but they are fully aware this person obviously darker or lighter than them, and it plays into the decision making of if this is a viable partner for them.
Do you know, I think that might be dependent on who the person is, who the person is seeking a relationship. So for example, let's say it's typically like a white girl, for example. I think when she's making the decision about a partner, if it tends to be a black partner, whether a different shade or whatever, that might be as a result of a conscious decision. I think a lot of the times, whether it's for the different reasons, obviously not to a big extreme, like, oh, I want light skin baby or all that, but a lot of the times, oh, I like being with black guys, or I like the culture that's associated with all of those kinds of decisions. Whereas, let's say it was me, for example, in today's current world, I'd probably make a conscious decision to be with like a darker skinned woman. Whereas I grew up in Luton, which is obviously like and in Stopsy, which is like the home of the EDL, for example. So everything I always saw was blonde hair, blue eyes. I grew up loving blonde hair, blue eyes. But obviously it took a few years for me to get over that, to understand all the social ramifications, etc. So I personally do make conscious decisions. I think it depends on the party. If you're a dark-skinned person and you get with a dark-skinned person, it can be a conscious decision, but more time, I don't think it is. It was probably just as a result of, these are the people I was around, this is my family, this is what I'm used to. Same thing with white people when they get with white people as well, but maybe it's when you start mixing and interracial, maybe that's when other things start coming into play.
So like you said, I don't want to say corrected, but when you change certain things.
No, for me it's corrected.
And you said, you know what? I'm going to make a conscious decision to be with a dark-skinned woman. Is that a bad thing?
I think it's an amazing thing.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, because
I like that sound on the soundboard.
I think it's an amazing thing because obviously, whether you're talking about, I don't want to do too much, but you know when you talk about whether it's economical factors or, again, the kind of things that you're passing on to your children as well and showing them that you can have love for your skin color and all of these types of things. I can't remember your question, sorry. Do you feel like it could be a bad thing to say to yourself, you know what, I'm only going to be with dark-skinned people? That one, specifically that one, I don't think is a bad one. I don't think that one could be a bad one. But that's for me trying to prop up my race. And it's the same thing as driving the narrative, oh, black is beautiful, for example. Like that's driving a narrative and you're trying to ensure a better future in a sense for those types of people. So that's positive to me. It's like positive reinforcement.
Okay, makes sense. I want to read a comment from Davina. She said, the father of my child is very dark-skinned. When our baby was born and I'd seen her ears, I said, she's going to be dark-skinned. He said, hopefully not too dark. I couldn't believe he said that. Right?
Sorry?
Yep. That's what happened.
That would be so stuck. But then that might be, again, a trauma response.
This is it. This is it. Because he remembers how it was maybe secondary
for him,
school
being called there.
And for a girl, maybe it's like, you know what I mean? It might be a bit too hard, or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? But...
Damn. That's a damn moment. That's damn. Like, well...
That's the reality of the world we live in. I'm trying to find Maggie's comment. Maggie said something along the lines of, it's normal for a parent to want their child to emulate them, right?
Yeah.
So let me just bring that into the context of skin color and whatnot. Why is it that if, for example, I'm not saying this was us in the room, but when we were watching that video and the white woman said she would prefer the kid to be more like her, why would we think that's a bad thing?
I'm a channel Martin and Christy. Why did you go with a black man if you did not? Because that's my issue, is that you have... That's like me being with a man who is Chinese and then being upset my kid looks like the man's family. That makes no sense to me. Like, why would you be with somebody from a different race that you know is going to alter... it's just going to change your child's DNA essentially, and the child is going to be mixed race, and you can't determine the hue. But then deep down, you're hoping that the child looks like you. Then you should have been with a white guy because that would have definitely got you the result you wanted. Do you get me? So that stuff like that, I find ignorant, and I guess this is why sometimes people have an issue with interracial marriages and stuff, like mixing essentially, like having children together. Because do you just like that person because? Like your like and love for that person is only surface. You don't think about the reality of what life looks like for them. Do you get me? It's like when people talk about when people have, we say you're with a black man or a black woman, right? But then you don't take the time out to understand how race plays a part in their everyday life and how it would affect the relationship, and how when you have children, you're going to have to explain to these things to them, because the world's going to see your children as black, or they might face racism. So it's just that irresponsible. For me, I think it's an irresponsible way to get into relationships without thinking of the ramifications beyond yourself, especially when you want to have children. Like, why would you have a child with someone who's black and then be deep down hoping that the child has your skin color? That makes no sense. Do you get what I mean? So, yeah.
I'm trying to think, because if all right, put it this way. You've seen bare times where people say, may say, for example, if their child is stopped by the police, behave in a particular way. Why? Because you just don't want it to escalate, whatever, even if it looks as though the child,
hashtag.
you know what I'm saying, Yep. So in that situation where that person, this might not be the best analogy, but in that same situation where somebody's saying, cool, I love this person as a white person, a Chinese person, Indian, but whatever it may be, I don't really care about how the child looks. But when I'm thinking about real world scenarios now, I would prefer that there's less resistance. I prefer there's less trouble for that child, right? But it's not that you want the child to be light skinned because you think light skin is better. But you just want maybe a smooth existence. So it's kind of like the whole thing with the police. You know what I'm saying? You want your child in most scenarios to be, for example, look like you or whatever, to be bold, to be confident, and not allow police to mock them, right? But if it may cost your life, keep your mouth closed. You know what I'm saying? You may say that to your child. So in that same sort of example, is it wrong for somebody to think to themselves, you know what, long term, I don't care about skin color, but since I have to choose, I would prefer that if I'm dark skinned, they look a bit lighter, so they look less threatening. And if I'm light skinned, closer to me, for example. You know what I mean? And does it all come from a bad place? That's basically what I'm coming from.
There you go.
I think it's similar. It's kind of responding to like the trauma response kind of thing that you mentioned as well, but also in certain scenarios, like for example, I was kind of relating what you were saying to, let's say your child had like a seeing defect or needed glasses when they were growing up or something like that. Maybe you might prefer, it'd be nice if my child didn't have anything that was stopping them or hindering them. But at the same time, again, for me personally, I think based on the party that's involved, if, for example, you wanted an easier life, or let's say you were going to have a darker skinned child or the shades were getting darker, maybe the focus is on, and it's very difficult, but maybe the focus is more on working on a society to make that as 100%. Much of an easy transition for them, as opposed to, okay, well, let me make you fit into the society. But isn't that's a long term it's
thing
difficult,
that may not happen in our own.
And that's the thing there, but because that's a long term thing, I just think it's irresponsible. Because the reality is that you can't choose whether your child, like you can't choose the shade your child comes out in. And because you can't choose, like if you don't want, so basically you see, for example, you see how it is that black people are treated, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to have to get to a point or stage in life where you have to give this heartbreaking, heartbreaking conversation or talk to your son, to your daughter, whatever the case might be, right? What the responsible thing to do then, if this conversation is so hard for you, because clearly it's not harder for the race, but whatever. If the conversation is so hard for you, then don't procreate with somebody 100%. Of that race then, because you can't avoid that. And that's why I say that for me, I find it irresponsible. I find it irresponsible to just say, oh yes, we're blindly in love, and you don't think about the reality when your love starts to procreate. Do you get what I mean? That you can't. You don't get to choose these things. And because you don't get to choose these things, you've got to then prepare yourself for what may be. So it's an irresponsible thing to do. Yes, there might be the trauma there, whatever the case is, but then you can avoid that then. Do you get what I mean? Like you can, like, you know, like say for example with disabilities and stuff, you don't know. You don't know until you have the child. But with this, you can know. It's just the maths of it. Do you get what I mean? Like, come on. So,
Last question I want to ask you guys. Now, of course, black community come in a plethora of different shades.
Absolutely.
Right? all beautiful and equal in the eyes of God, right? Now, this may sound controversial. So if you're a dark-skinned person, for example, or you're light-skinned, and you get with somebody who's a different shade to you, but both of you are black or whatever it may be, yeah? You're having kids, some of them may appear darker, some of them may appear lighter. It happens, right? If, for example, you transition, you pass away now, 100 years from now, you're looking at all your descendants, and they look absolutely the opposite to what you look like.
Sensational.
Right? Are we being honest and saying you wouldn't give a damn?
I'd definitely give it a damn.
I'll give a big damn.
I give
Definitely a big damn. Big damn.
I definitely do.
Is it wrong for us though?
To give a damn?
Yeah, the reason why I'm saying is
course
because we're all black. You know what I'm saying? Your kids are all black. I'm talking about the descendants. They're
Oh, you
all
mean
black.
sorry, so they
Yeah,
didn't
haven't
mix?
mixed. No, they haven't mixed.
Oh,
they're just
okay. Oh, yeah, that's
different
fine then.
shades
Yeah,
and it's-
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I thought you meant like they
no,
mixed and
no,
stuff,
no,
and so my generation is just whitewashed now.
No.
Oh, so
Oh,
it's
that's
not,
alright.
It's not about
That's
how
an
they
easy
look
one.
then. It's not about how they appear then.
What do you mean?
They're all black, just different hues, different shades, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not about how they look. As why you answered what you answered in the first place. Like, oh no, I don't want that. I don't
Yeah,
want
because
that.
I thought they were becoming whiter and whiter,
Appearance
whiter.
wise.
Yeah.
But not just appearance wise. I meant like race wise. So at some point, so you see when you see those pictures where the parents are black, but then when you start seeing the generations,
Yeah.
from when you get to the great grandchildren, they look white.
There we go.
That's what I
Because
thought you
they
meant.
appear a particular way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he said it, he didn't mention anything other than how you perceived it, right?
Yeah.
Am I with you? Are you with me right now?
But I thought you did mention that they didn't mix though, no?
Yeah, there's no
Only
mixes.
after,
Was it after or did you
and
mention
then
it
you
before?
changed
Yeah, I
your
said
mind.
after.
yeah.
You said it after I asked you or before you presented the scenario?
No, after you guys answered, then I was like, no, they're all
Oh,
black.
okay,
That's what I said. Is
yeah,
it bad
yeah,
for us
yeah.
to think this way?
So just
Okay, I get
as
you.
long as it is, he then tells you, all right,
They're
bear in
not
mind there was
mixed,
no
yeah.
mixing involved.
Yeah.
You would then change your mind about what you had seen and made your mind up previous.
Not necessarily, because when he asked what he asked, my mind was on mixing. So had I heard that question without that, I wouldn't have had the same reaction, because in my family they're different hues. So
It was
That's not a
mixing
thing.
based on what you saw, though, in your mind's eye, not
Yeah.
what you perceived with him saying there was no mixing.
Yes,
that
but then-
piece of information,
yeah.
you in your mind, you may have already just tethered it, connected it.
Yeah.
But in my mind, when he asked the initial question,
Yeah.
I just saw, all right, different shades. I mean, you were definitely mixing. Without the qualification of no, there was no mixing, but yet the shades are still there. Then I was like, all right, cool, let me rethink this now.
Oh no, I definitely didn't think that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I didn't think that.
You know what's interesting as well, even again with all being black versus even being African, for example. Obviously, I'm West African, Yoruba.
Yeah.
For example, let's say a couple generations down the line, we've done some mixing. Maybe there's like Zimbabwean family inside my family now, or Namibian or something like that. So now, of course, certain things they start looking a bit different. But to me personally, that's still all fine. That's completely
Yeah.
fine with me.
'Cause that's still full African, and that's what you care about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So really, if we were aware that, okay, cool, yeah, this is just a different look of blackness.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it will never look mixed race. That no matter what the hue is, on black people that are lighter skin, they still don't look. Actually, well, depends. Yeah. I just remembered. To be fair, yeah, some people can.
Yeah.
But I think, to be fair, what I have in my mind, I wish I could draw it out. Because what I have in my mind,
Yeah.
you can't get that just being black, basically.
Okay.
So,
But if it was now, what you initially thought, so this is now mixing,
yeah.
right? But you guys, for example, let's just say your positions was, you know, I don't mind as long as they're a nice human being, they're Christian, they're this, whatever, all the nice things you can say. You don't mind what color they are, right? But then again, 100 years, you're looking down from heaven and you're thinking, you know, God says, look at your descendants.
Not
And
mine,
you're like,
Lord.
where are they?
Where, Lord?
Exactly. Would you feel some sort of way?
I feel like I would, just for the history, because already in present day I feel like we're losing our history. Like one thing because I was listening to I said what I said, Nigerian podcast, right? And one of them was talking about how she procrastinated on sitting down with her grandma and just asking her grandma's story and just want it to be documented and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, like there's been moments, I would say, in the past few years where I'm like, oh, I wish I knew about my grand. Like, I wish I knew a bit more about the history, blah, blah, blah. But when I think about it, yeah, of course I can ask my mum, but there might be limited things that she knows. And I just feel like, as Black people who have had to move to different parts of the world and whatever the case is, for a lot of people, our culture is being lost. So from a cultural perspective, that's what I would care about. Do you get me? At the end of the day, like, you know where I stand, child. Love wherever you want to love, go where you're appreciated, blah, 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 blah. That's I'm a lover girl, and whatever that love looks like, go forth. If it's good and great for you, you like it, I love it kind of thing. But however, from like a cultural perspective of just the family history being there and just that culture being passed on, that's what I would care about. If my great-grandchildren don't know who my grandfather was, what name we come from and all that stuff, that is upsetting, that is sad.
100%.
So that's what I would really care about.
Can I piggyback off that? Even, you know exactly what you're saying as well. I think even with some of my responses as well, again, from a trauma response. So with my surname, growing up in England, again, I didn't even know how to say my surname correctly. I'm saying it in the most English way possible. And growing up, by the time I'm in my 20s now, that's something that started to upset me, infuriate me. Like, look at me, look at the way I'm going around saying it. I don't know, my name even has a meaning. It needs to be said a certain specific way. So you ended up getting washed away now when trying to mix the cultures. Most of the time on the mail that I would receive growing up, they used to say my name as if it was an Irish name. Because I know, please, it's different. It's Ola.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Where did that even come from, though? Like, what made you in your 20s say to yourself, you know what? Why isn't things adding? Like, I'm a Yoruba man here, and you know what I'm saying. Like, what clicked for you?
What did click for me? That's such a good question. You know, obviously, I'm even trying to talk prior to 2020 stuff, because 2020 was obviously a big shift.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think prior to that. I think I was just having small like things dripping in. Like, that's not right. Like, that's wrong. Like, why do I think, for example, that someone who maybe has an accent, whether it's from Africa, Asia, whatever, why am I thinking that for some reason that person is less intelligent than someone who has an English accent? Like, all of these questions, and that's when it starts snowballing, I think.
And that's what I say about, like, you have to get to a point as an adult where you start doing the self-work yourself, because a lot of the things that we know, we grow up with. That's why I'm not for cancelling people who were tweeting stuff when they were like 14 and 15. Like, they're still young. Honestly, even 18, I would give a pass that, because when I remember how I was when I was 18 and how I am today, the growth is absolutely crazy. Do you get what I mean? So that's why at some point as an adult, you then got to do the self-work and just want to know your history outside of what you've been told you are, like outside of who you've been told you are. It's just very important. G16 says, when I was 20 to 24, I was with a white girl. I never really wanted a mixed race child, as there's none in my family. I done the best I could to not get her pregnant. Eventually I broke up with her. Did the best I could to not get her pregnant. It was hilarious. I said, I'm still having sex with her, but G says, that was one of the main reasons, and looking back on it, I always think she felt the same way. That's a plot twist. But this, again, it goes back to, at some point you've got to, I just feel like Black people go through a lot. Like, African people go through a lot, and you've got to think about your history and the people that like did a lot to fight for that. Do you get what I mean? To make that relevant, to make that what it was. And you just got to, you've got to just decide whether that journey is for you as well. That self-discovery journey, whether it's for you as well. And it doesn't have to be for everybody, for different reasons, and that's okay. But you at least have to sit down with yourself and decide whether you need to go on that journey or not. Did you guys see King Charles talking about the video teachers in Pidgin in his music?
Serious?
I saw that.
He said, I can't wait to go to Nigeria and speak some. Like, sir, you can sit down with Camilla. Let me silly.
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. Give us our stuff back. Speak Pidgin that way.
Exactly.
What a cheek.
Actually, one last question. Right, quick one. Black Rob said, you think I'll care if I'm in heaven? All I care about is that they're saved. So you're in heaven now. You've seen your kids have changed, they've mixed and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I am delivered.
There you go. They've been delivered. Is he right?
Absolutely.
Is that the most important thing to you?
That is. I think when it comes down to it, like, that is That has to be the most important thing, because what is you knowing that you're a black Yoruba man gonna do in the gates of heaven? You don't get a black card.
That's true.
To go in because of that. So ultimately, that is the most important thing. Absolutely. So I get that.
I think that is kind of an interesting conversation as well. Obviously, being Christian, for me personally, that's first.
Yeah.
But it is quite interesting when it comes to identity, what for each person comes first. Would it be your race or your religion? That's a really interesting conversation, that line.
Yeah, because mine is like, my order is Christian, then I'm Nigerian before I even say that I'm black. That's why the black is like, duh. What am I? So like, it's like I'm black. Tolly said something on a Receipts episode I listened to the other day. I think they were talking about the whole Keith Lee stuff. And I think she said something about black British is more, you say it's like a label or identity. So like when she speaks, she doesn't lead with I'm black British. She leads with I'm Nigerian. Like if someone asks where you from, she's like I'm Nigerian. And then when they're like, okay, like what part? It's like, oh yeah, like Britain or whatever the case is. And that's how I think as well. Like, yeah, but it's interesting the thing that people would lead with, because there's people that would lead with being black first, and then will then go on to, let's say, tribe or the country or whatever the case is.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that I think that might be because we're first generation.
Yeah,
we're so close to being back home, innit? But you know what? One last half a question. But the thing is, based on what you guys said, if that is the most important thing, looking down from heaven, that's all that matters, that they're delivered, they're saved, then why don't we live life here like that? So why should it matter who you or your children get with then? If ultimately the most important thing is you just get saved.
Because two things can be true, bro.
True.
Two things can be true.
But in heaven, only one.
Absolutely, but I'm not in heaven yet. In terms of checklist, first of all, you're a Christian, tick. Then we can start talking about race relations. Because yes, you're a Christian, but you can also have like ignorant Christians. You can have. I just think I think it's because also with the world, of course, Christianity is number one. Yes. But the world, you can try and ignore your race all you like. The world will not ignore it.
You see?
Do you get what I mean? And there's just so much that I believe, like having black children and stuff, you've got to prepare your black children for. There's so many conversations that unfortunately can rob them of their innocence and whatnot, but you've got to have certain conversations just to keep them safe and all that stuff. So that is important. Like where you come from is
100%.
It still matters. And I believe that on the topic of Jesus made me Nigerian for a reason. Do you get what I mean? So you got to honor that as well. But I do believe that I think the faith thing, if my child is saved and they're like, oh, I want to be with a Korean person, I'm not going to be like, I wouldn't say, well, I'd rather you were Nigerian than be saved. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, the saved will always be the most important thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what, fair enough.
That's
Yeah, if
true.
it's either or, I will always choose faith. So it's like, okay, fair enough. But if I could choose two, I'd choose faith and, black.
Race is quite worldly now that you say it. Race is actually quite worldly.
It's a big thing.
Because I'm even thinking, for me personally, I'm with the type of person I am, like you said, if you're in heaven, again, race isn't really a big deal. Yeah. But when I'm on earth, because again of all of the things that I've learned and all of the history and everything we've gone through, I've got so much almost, I want to say something softer than vengeance. But I'm just like, I'm alert. I'm not happy. I'm not happy, and I wanna get it across that it's not fine, it's not okay. But obviously again, in a Christian format anyway, Jesus is obviously perfect and that kind of, so that's what I'm striving for. But at the same time, it's still difficult because it's like, but there's what's the verse where it said, if your brother offends you 7 times.
Oh yeah, forgive him 70 times, 7 times. Yeah,
difficult.
But that's
what he said. It's
that's
hard.
the instruction. You get it?
Yeah.
So we try.
Yeah, it's tricky, man.
All right, people. I think we can wrap up.
All right.
Of the day there.
Let's get into more headlines.
Let's do it. All right, people. So our next set of headlines. Senior US and Ukrainian officials have arrived in Saudi Arabia for high-stakes meetings on Tuesday today, aimed at repairing a severely damaged relationship that had left and battled Kiev without Washington's support. Ukraine's delegation, led by Volodymyr Zelensky's chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, will meet the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and other senior White House officials on what is seen as neutral ground in the Saudi city of Jeddah. It will be the first official meeting of the two governments since the disastrous Oval Office argument between Zelensky and Donald Trump, after which the US leader cut off all crucial military assistance and intelligence sharing. The two presidents will not take part in the talks, although Zelensky was in Jeddah on Monday to meet the Saudi Crown Prince, whose government has played a mediating role between Ukraine and Russia. Russian forces, emboldened after Ukraine lost support from its biggest backer, have seized the moment, launching barrages of ballistic missile attacks whilst attempting to surround thousands of Ukrainian troops who have maintained a 7-month foothold in the Russian region of Kursk. Next headline, and a US envoy has said that Hamas proposed a 5 to 10 year ceasefire and a full prisoner exchange during backroom talks that have provoked angry responses from the administration of Benjamin Netanyahu and his conservative backers in Israel and the US. Adam Bowler, who is the US Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, told Kan News, which is an Israeli public broadcaster, that he does not believe Hamas would eventually lay down its weapons and leave power in Gaza. While he said that the series of interviews was meant to explain the US position, he also defended the talks by saying that Washington is not an agent of Israel. He went on to say, "We weren't prepared to just sit back for 2 weeks. You've got a real chance for some movement and seeing hostages home in the next few weeks." Those remarks are said to have provoked behind-the-scenes fury from Netanyahu's strategic affairs advisor, as well as public anger from right-wingers in the government, including the ultra-nationalist finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich. And our next headline, this is all based on Trump. Basically, US shares fell sharply again yesterday amid uncertainty in the American economy, with Donald Trump refusing to rule out a recession. Tesla shares plunged by at least 15% to $222, meaning that it's lost more than half its value since its peak at $479 on the 17th of December. But Elon Musk said on X that it will be fine long term. The tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite closed down more than 4% on Monday, while the S&P 500 slumped about 2.7%, which is the biggest daily percentage drop since the 18th of December. Airlines and other companies that need US shoppers feeling confident enough to spend also saw sharp losses as well. Bitcoin fell to below $79,000 from more than $100,000 back in December, with richly valued US tech stocks bearing the brunt of the recent sell-off on Wall Street. Financial markets have been volatile in recent weeks as rising trade tensions with tariffs of up to 25% against goods from Canada and Mexico and signs of slowing US economic growth weighed on consumer confidence and business activity. And that's it for the headlines. Time to pay them bills.
All right, let's get somewhere on the road. All right, people, what are we talking about today? Who are we talking about? Okay, this is actually sad. Some of a sad one. There is a YouTuber by the name of Alicia, I believe. Hold on. Pop-ups. Yeah, Alicia Burney. She's a YouTuber and stuff like that, but she's passed away, man. She was on a birthday trip for her 25th birthday. And she passed away literally a day before her birthday. So horrible. She passed away from an asthma attack while she was sleeping.
Damn.
It's so horrible. And there was obviously a lot of online speculation because some of you just have no manners online. But her brother's come out to, I guess, clear the record and just speak about his sister. And he said that just to clear it up, she did not do drugs. And so she didn't die of doing drugs. It was an asthma attack. And he says that she was a self-loving and happy individual who cherished her life and was looking forward to the upcoming year's plans. He says that she was in Mexico to celebrate her birthday. She was a very classy young woman. There's a spread of misinformation online stating different things based on speculation. These sources lack credibility and should not be believed. My sister did not engage in environments that would lead to such situations. And he also praises her for never being selfish with her knowledge and also living her life as an open book. He also said she was a very goal-oriented, creative and passionate about giving back. She graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Digital Media Production and was working towards her graduate degree. So RIP to that lovely young lady. That's just so sad. Next, trigger warning. I have a theory on all this Diddy stuff. It hit me yesterday. I'll tell you why it hit me. Trigger warning though. Trigger warning. Please take a second out. Sexual assault and things of that nature. There is a new Diddy lawsuit But in this lawsuit, so it's not by what's that guy's name? I was about to say Bill Cosby. Tony
Tony
Busby.
Busby.
That's it. It's not by Tony Busby. It's a whole other lawyer this time. But basically, in the lawsuits, it also names Odell Beckham Jr. and Drewski. So Drewski is such a joke. Every time I think of Drewski, I just laugh because he's just funny. He's just funny. But so it names Odell Beckham Jr. and Drewski in that lawsuit. I'm just gonna give a summary just because. Honestly, I'm tired of reading these accounts about Diddy's stuff and whatever. Like, it's just all too much. But cut long story short, she's essentially claiming that she claims that I believe that Diddy raped her, so did Drewski, and basically tagged Drewski and Adele Beckham Jr. in something like that, and then he was watching and all that stuff, and that she sets the scene, and it's not funny, but it's the imagery of it. Also, she basically says there was baby oil everywhere. Obviously, since we found out about the baby oil thing, there's baby oil everywhere now. So she's like, there's baby oil there, blah, blah, blah. And then she says that Drewski treated like a slip and slide. So he tried to slide on her and then accidentally missed. Sorry, but it's just the imagery of that, of Drewski sliding around in oil. Because you know what I think about? Do you guys remember that show, Total Wipeout?
Yeah.
It was a show basically, it was like an obstacle course. It was like over water.
Okay,
and you have to like bounce in the ball and you have to do this.
Yeah.
So when she said the slip and slide thing, that's what I imagine. Because sometimes people try and slide, but then they miss the target, then they go and catch themselves. It's the whole thing. So basically she said all of that as well. And then she said that she basically said that Diddy was watching him. And I think how this whole thing happened was because her friend, there was a phone call one time where her friend like knew Diddy or whatever. Then she was just like, then she basically said the whole alleged Tupac thing, where she thought that Diddy killed Tupac and whatever. And apparently Diddy was offended by that. Well, I mean, duh. He would be offended. She said allegedly he was offended by that when she said that or whatever, and was just annoyed at this woman or whatever. So then she went with that friend another time because the friend was going to administer treatment to Diddy for cancer, apparently. Remember there's been speculation about he's got some illness. That's why he wanted to move prisons and whatnot, because he needed treatment for some illness that he hasn't disclosed, or they took out the lawsuits anyway. So that's how she ended up in Diddy's house and blah 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 blah, all that stuff. But obviously, Drewski and Adele Beckham Jr. have released statements, and so has Diddy, to be fair, about this. I'll read the statements and I'll tell you what my theory is about all of this now. So Drewski says, sorry, there's a lot of statements around here. Okay, so Drewski says this allegation is a fabricated lie. I wasn't a public figure in 2018. So she claims that this happened in 2018. He says, I wasn't a public figure in 2018. I was broke, living with my mum without any connections to the entertainment industry at the time of this allegation. So the inclusion of my name is truly outlandish. My heart breaks for actual victims of abuse, but I'm fully confident that the evidence will expose this falsehood and the individuals who are maliciously trying to game the legal system to peddle false narratives. Sorry, but I just feel like your reason for it not being you is because you're broke. So he says that. And then Adele Beckham Jr. says, I have been informed of the allegations about me in a suit in CA is California, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, they're basically saying that Diddy was never in that area at that time where she's saying all these things happened. And all so it's like all those details they're trying to piece together, basically. It says, I really can't even believe that my name is mentioned in that matter. There is absolutely no truth to those allegations. I do not know and have never met the person that filed the suit. I was not anywhere near Orinda, California at that time. In fact, I don't think I've ever been to Orinda in CA. I have never done anything like that, and I would never do anything like that to anyone. I'm confident that these ridiculous claims against me will be dismissed. And of course, Diddy's lawyer also released a statement. It says, this new complaint brought by an attorney who has already been sued for defaming Mr. Combs demonstrates that the depraved lengths plaintiffs will travel to garner headlines in pursuit of a payday. Mr. Combs was nowhere near Orinda, California on the day. Miss Parham claims she was assaulted there, and the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department has already confirmed Miss Parham's claims were determined to be unfounded following a thorough investigation. In an attempt to salvage her claims following the investigation, debunking them, Miss Parham has now invented an even wilder narrative alleging a vast and facially implausible conspiracy between law enforcement, local civilians, and media industry players. Her far-fetched tale contains it all: fake cops, cash bribes, and an alleged victim of the late Michael Jackson, who was purportedly kidnapped across state lines and forced to sign the paperwork at gunpoint while she went, give a lot of details. And so did he. Cut long story, don't believe it. Here's my theory, right? Here's what I think is happening. I think that these other claims are intentional. It could be Diddy's in on them or not in on them. I don't know. I don't know the man. But what I think is happening is that there's so many claims every other day that is sounding more and more wild as we go along. And what's going to happen is that these false ones, the alleged false ones, I'm not saying any of it's false. I don't know any of the people involved. But these ones that appear so outlandish and maybe false or whatever the case is, are then going to muddy the waters for the actual real one. So then it's just going to be a case of, do you know what? It's going to end. I don't know how trials work and whatever. I didn't pursue that law degree. I end up yapping, but it might end up being like a mistrial or whatever the case is. But I actually, a part of me believes that these every other day cases coming out are intentional. I believe it's intentional, and it's just going to, because it's all confusing now. I don't even know what cases were anymore. Every time I read one, I think, have I read this one before? Like, it's all just messy and confusing and whatever else is going on. And then they keep adding these other celebrities in there that people are very fond of in society, where it would be like, he could never do that. Obviously with Diddy, there's been things said about Diddy for years, where when it all came out, it's like, we've heard this thing before. And then obviously we saw the Cassie video and whatnot. And it's like, well, look, that appears to be what we thought in our minds kind of thing. But I do believe that all these other things are just intentionally being sprinkled in there just to allegedly just muddle it all up. And then it would just end up being a shit show. But he's due in court in May, remember?
Wow.
I think it's the 5th of May.
It's coming.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But all these other cases, I don't know, man. Just... yeah, there's that going on. In good news, though, I'm very happy this morning, considering what Brent brought up yesterday. I told you, me and Wendy Williams were still going strong, Brent. Oh, you missed this. I denounced Chris Brown yesterday.
Oh, serious?
I did.
Did you do something?
He gave Tory Lanez money towards his case. You know, damn, that is how you get me. That's how you get me off your team. So when I said that, obviously... shocks everyone. Everyone was shocked, right? Shocked atmosphere. And Brent then said, do you think this is going to happen with Wendy Williams? And I said no. But then I was quickly reminded that I once did not think I'll be on this side. Because I unfollowed him and everything. Like, done.
Serious?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm happy for Wendy Williams because of the reports that's happening. And hopefully it leads to her conservatorship being dismissed and whatnot. So as I've reported a few times now, Wendy Williams is under a guardianship, a conservatorship, where they basically believe that she's not mentally well enough to be responsible for her money, to take care of herself, all that kind of stuff. It's been going on for a while. The people that are involved are like third parties. She's spoken out many times that she doesn't need the help and whatever else. She's had interviews that we've seen. She was on Breakfast Club for a few days actually, which was nice. I'm glad they gave her the audience to do that. Because when she was speaking, but like over the phone.
Oh, nice.
So she can call people can call her.
Okay.
So she they set up. She called them one time, and then they set up another day where she was able to talk properly and everything. And from her talk, people were like, "This woman, this sounds like the Wendy we've always known," kind of thing. There's always been that, and then also the interview with the TMZ guy when she basically was like waving outside her window, and she was crying and all that kind of stuff. So yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. Yeah, it was Monday. What day was it? It's Tuesday today. Yeah, yesterday. She basically passed a note to the paparazzi that says "help!" exclamation point, Wendy, 2 exclamation points. And then they basically called the police so they can do a welfare check for her. So she basically was in the hospital. And they did a psych evaluation and she scored 10 out of 10.
No way.
She scored 10 out of 10. Wow. So at the moment she is in court. She basically, where her case was up to last time I remember, was her saying to the judge, let's do a psych eval again. Let's do these things that they keep claiming, I've got dementia, I've got this, I've got that, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with my frontal lobe. Let's do these tests again, and then the judge's going to determine whether to basically end the conservatorship or whatever. I know that she's fired a couple people that were involved with it and what, and said she doesn't want to work with them and blah, blah, blah. So there's all that stuff going on. But she basically did a psych test, and she scored 10 out of 10 on it.
Sick.
But obviously, I don't know if there's going to be more tests or whatever, but the results has been passed on to the judge. So hopefully all of this will end a crazy thing. What I think it was with her is that she was going through stress. but not like your everyday stress. My schedule is crazy, like mental stress. She found that her man was cheating on her and stealing her money, allegedly. I know he ain't got no money. Allegedly stealing her money and whatever else and using it to fund his side chick that she didn't even know existed. And then they had a baby. And then her mother died. So do you know what I mean? Like there was so much that was, and then she had obviously had that health scare as well. So she was going through physical health situations anyway, when all of that stuff happened. And even when she found out about her husband, just so people understand the gravity of it, was they had to hire security for her at work. Because allegedly it was an abusive relationship as well. Anyway, so she had a lot that was going on at the time. And I think she's been sober for years as well. That I think she relapsed on that because she went to rehab and whatever. So the woman's going through a lot mentally. So I believe that that's probably what kind of got her in that state of being unrecognizable and whatever else. So hopefully that this does bring something positive. But if you're going to do a capacity test on someone that you claim is very unwell mentally, they shouldn't be scoring 10 out of 10. Do you get what I mean? So that is really, really good. Hopefully we see what happens and something good comes from this. But she does maintain that she doesn't need the conservatorship. She maintains that there's nothing wrong with her. She maintains she can take care of herself. And she does say that her son basically was misspending her money. That's how a lot of these things started, was her son was just living wild and free.
Where's he now?
He's in uni. So she was even at his graduation a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, nice. So he's behaving himself. He's not giving her stress.
Yeah. So, but then her family can't really see her like that.
Okay.
Because her brothers come out, and her and her brother didn't really get on. I think after like the mum died or something like that. But even he had to come out and be like, bro, like it's too much kind of thing. Yeah. So her family's spoken out about how, and I think I remember telling you guys that she had to even apply to be able to go for her dad's birthday. Do you get what I mean? So it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, they're really watching her every moment. She's like, I don't need the type of what's happening to me. And she's just stayed saying that she doesn't need, that all of this is not necessary. She's fine, she's well, blah, blah, blah. I really do hope that she does bounce back from this. She announced a podcast when her show came off air and stuff. So I do hope that happens, because I really want to know the full tea. I know she will. She will say the whole thing. But yeah, so that is really, really good news. I'm really, really pleased about that, just because it's just been absolutely horrible, to be fair. Next, yesterday we talked about Natalie Barnett, who is the CEO of what's it called, Brent, again? The Girls
Spot.
The Girls Spot. Yeah, the Girls, so yes.
OG Girls.
That's your words, not mine.
No, just giving Iman some context.
Some context here. So, did you see that whole thing?
The gym.
Yeah, so the girl wants to make the only women's... okay, let's start again.
And Esther introduced a new term yesterday too.
What
I was telling you about that too.
What's the term?
Transistor.
Oh, like a trans sister. Like cis, but like a trans woman? Sisters.
So
trans sisters. Trans sisters. I know that's not offensive, but child, I'm tired, man. It's been a week. It's only Tuesday. But anyway, just to give you a quick summary of what had happened, basically, Natalie announced in 2021, or I think even maybe before, that she wants to open a women's only gym due to sexual harassment and all that kind of stuff that women face. But she wants to open a women's only gym. Cool. At the time in 2021, she was asked whether the gym would be welcome to trans women. And in 2021, she said, respectfully, if you have a problem, I think it's a respectfully. I think maybe that's what. I think that's really. It's the like. First of all, standing on it. Anyway, so she says back in 2021, respectfully, if you have a problem with trans women attending my gym, then you can find another gym to train at. I have discussed this several times before. Trans women are women and also a minority that need to be protected. Please keep your transphobia away. So in an interesting turn of events, they're now claiming she's the transphobic one. Because she said that with her gym, after looking at the logistics and doing her research and all that kind of stuff, she has decided that her gym will only be for biological women. Based on some of the programs and whatnot that they've got planned and whatever, and just the safe space that she wants to have. Of course, she's getting cooked. She's getting cooked.
Yeah.
Like there's no tomorrow, right? A lot of people that do not know were for everyone's speaking out. Even the men who didn't want the gym in the first place, all of a sudden now they're on trans women's sides and whatnot. Not saying they can't be, but I just find it interesting because we've never known you to be on women's side. So interesting. I guess this is the awakening in you. And that's great. We like growth. That's what we like. We like growth. It's not a bad thing when people change their minds. We encourage that, actually. So here we are. So anyway, she's been getting cooked and whatever else, and people are saying, like, why would you... Essentially, it's transphobic for her to now exclude trans women. And so people have even made comments like, so does that mean that trans men are welcome? That was the whole thing on yesterday's show. I don't want to get back into it. Because obviously they're biological women. So if you're saying biological women are allowed, then would trans men be allowed? But again, I maintain that makes no damn sense because trans men don't identify as men. They're men. They say they're... So they were women.
Look at you.
Trans men are biological women.
Yeah.
Stop with the sound. Trans men are biological women.
Yes.
But men today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
so they would never go because they would come as men.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, people were up in arms about all of that stuff anyway.
But they would be allowed.
People are saying technically, if you say that the entry requirement is biological woman, then they would be allowed.
Yeah. They just wouldn't come.
They obviously wouldn't. But also, they wouldn't because I don't imagine them wanting to be in a women's only gym.
True.
Because it's still a women's, like, biology or not.
Ooh, actually.
It's still a women's only gym.
It's sex and gender, isn't it?
No, but they would because they're men.
Oh.
Fair. They would because they are men. You're right. You are very right about that. So all of that stuff is going on and blah, blah, blah. But she's now released a further statement. She put a video and she put some text out. I'll read it very quickly. It's quite a lot, to be fair. But I'll give you the quick summary of it. But she says, I want to address a recent response. You're annoying as hell. But keep it playing though. Keep it going. I want to address the recent response to my announcement about the girls' spot being a single-sex space and operating as female only. I wholeheartedly sympathise with trans women and allies who feel hurt by my recent announcement, and I appreciate that the decision to operate in this way will come to them as guests as a disappointment. She says that it's absolutely committed. The girl spot is committed to ensuring that it's a safe space for biological women, particularly those who have previously been victims of harassment, assault, or overall negative experiences at traditional gyms or feel vulnerable in these spaces. This is why the gym aims to have close contact classes such as self-defense classes and Muay Thai, and host events, workshops, and activations around PCOS and training on your menstrual cycle. This has been the unwavering driver behind the girl spot, and I'm excited to launch this space. She says she wants to be clear that she's in no way saying that trans women don't face adversity or that they don't deserve a safe space, because they absolutely do. We're all entitled to be treated with kindness and respect. The girl spot is no different to many other businesses, and we operate in accordance with carefully considered financial budgets, balanced by location, operating hours, and longevity, meaning it isn't possible in our early stages to provide all alternatives. She basically saying not now. She's saying not now. She doesn't have the capacity right now. She says the decision to have the girl spot as a single-sex gym for those biologically female was not an easy decision, and something that I thought over for many years. I spent a great deal of time and money, including seeking legal advice, and it was absolutely not a choice made lightly or out of exclusion or malice, but rather out of my commitment to ensuring a space where women who have experienced trauma, harassment, or discomfort in co-ed gyms can feel at ease. That has always been my mission and drive behind the business. The Girl Spot is on a long journey, and I will continue to listen, learn, and lend my support for there to be inclusive fitness spaces for all. My hope is that every woman, cis and trans, find a space as they need to feel secure, strong, and empowered. She got cooked for that too. So
you can't win, man.
Yeah, she basically got cooked because people were basically saying that you saying, and that's the thing, because I was saying that two things can be true. Like, her saying that she wants a gym that has a safe space for biological women. Are they cis women, right? Is that cis het women? So I'll just say cis het women because cis het, I think biology is like a trigger word at the moment. So cis het women.
What did you say for the women?
Cis, CIS, scientific word.
But I thought you said cis het women.
Yeah, cis het women, like cis heterosexual women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Learning. But her saying that she wants a safe space for them doesn't mean that they're the only people in the world that need a safe space. Men need safe space. Black men need safe spaces. Trans women need safe spaces. Trans men need different groups need safe spaces. But her saying that she's created a safe space for this particular women doesn't mean that nobody else gets to have a safe space. So she did clarify that. But people are saying that because in the video version she talks about her just saying that the reason why she even wanted to come up with this was due to her being essayed and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. So people are saying that you speaking about your experience of being essayed, but also saying that your gym is now for biological women and saying trans women are not allowed. It's like you're implying that trans women are going to cause harm. And it's like, she didn't say that. But I did see in the comments, she did respond to people and say, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, you just, essentially, you're making up your own interpretation of what that is. But obviously, people are upset because in 2021, she did say that they're allowed in. And then now she's saying that they're not. But again, here we are.
But ultimately, it's her business, though, isn't it?
Ultimately.
So
And I just think, go on.
cisgender, a person's gender identity matches the sex they were assigned at birth. And heterosexual, a person is romantically, emotionally, and or sexually attracted to people of the same sex. So cis-het is an amalgamation of both of those.
Missed it.
I'm confused.
I don't. I'm confused.
I'm confused.
So you
So
said
sit-
cis-het women.
Yeah.
That's what your mind was like, what was that? What was that?
Yeah.
So I just broke it down for you.
What's the
Cisgender
second part?
and heterosexual.
Okay,
Cis-het.
so trans women are cis hair as well.
Oh.
So cis-het, wouldn't that be, so that would be that your gender aligns with
Your biological
the
sex.
sex that you were assigned at
Okay.
birth, and also you're attracted to the opposite sex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is like most people, right?
Yeah, but then
That would
lesbians
be
wouldn't be
the
cis het.
majority.
Say what?
So lesbians wouldn't be cis het then.
I guess they would be cis.
Yeah,
cis,
there'll be.
the other
Somewhere
one.
else.
Yeah,
Fair.
cis the other one.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So that's thank you, Brent. That's that on that case. It will be interesting to see what happens. But it's funny. It's no, not funny, but it's interesting how that information really passes on, because people are like, oh, you started a fund and you collected trans women's money. I'm like,
Oh man.
I don't think she did. I don't think she did. And also, like, I understand if it was a thing where you donated because you felt like it was going to be inclusive. That makes sense. But also, I just don't. And people are out here tagging Gymshark and whatnot, saying, you might want to take your 20K back and whatnot.
People are haters,
Internet.
Oh my goodness.
It's just crazy. But it's been interesting as well, because I have seen trans women as well not have an issue with it.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I've seen trans women who are like, it's not that deep. Like, okay, she changed it, but then they've actually said the things that I said, where it's like, okay, first of all, someone was like, oh, she's saying it for now, so perhaps she doesn't have the capacity to basically to include trans women, right? What were you gonna say?
No, I wanted to ask because, again, I didn't get to check the statistic, but I did
Yeah.
saw someone mention that the borough that the gym
Yeah,
is
man.
opening, that the amount of trans people that is even in that community is 0.002%.
Yeah.
So what necessarily, but also what is the capacity, the extra capacity that you need to cover for the 0.002%?
I guess
No, but people travel.
But I feel like first of all,
Travel.
but I feel like it's the logistics. Like, I think, because the way I see it, that I just felt like, because when you want to create something, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have this. When it gets down to it now, when you got the logistics, now you got the funds, now you got this and da, you realize that some of the things that you wanted to do, it's not in your capacity to do. In my mind, the things that trans women deal with, the harassments and all that kind of stuff, if you're going to have a space that caters to trans women, you need to be able to protect them.
Yeah.
You need to be able to protect them from biological women,
100%.
biological men,
Yeah.
anybody, right? You need to, do you know what I mean? You need to be able to, she's going to be accountable to protect them, right? And obviously there are many ways that she could look to do that, but perhaps she doesn't have the funds to do that. And these are kind of the things that I saw some trans women saying, where it's like, you don't have, like, if she's not going to be able to protect trans women the way she needs to protect them, then it's best not to include them. They kind of put them in unsafe situations that's meant to be safe, kind of thing.
100%.
And also not to, like, it's okay if that environment is meant to be for these people at this point in time. And also as well, she said that it's a long journey. This is just the beginning. So let's see what happens over time, kind of thing. But it's definitely mixed responses and mixed stuff. And in the video though that she posted, she did look very emotional. Like, it's been, like, she's upset at it. At obviously being called transphobic and all that stuff and the hate she's been getting. But she also said that, she's had people messaging her and checking on her and all that kind of stuff as well. So that's been nice and stuff. But yeah, there's that. But to you guest hosts, please, please let our lovely viewers and watchers and listeners know what you do.
Oh, okay. So my name is Esseo. I'm an artist. I also run a recording studio in my local community. I'm just very much music industry based and music industry revolving around. I spent quite a bit of time interning and working at record labels, artist management companies. But yeah, currently anyway, my main focus is my recording studio and my music career, which I'm currently working on my new project as well, which is called Birds Before Land. It's like my fourth project that I'm working on. This is mainly what I'm working on currently. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
What got you into music?
So
I feel like I've known you all my life. I don't even know that.
literally. So, well, I started my main fascination for music started when I was probably about 11, 12 years old. A lot of my older cousins as well, they were all into music. They were doing grime at the time. My older brother as well. And we're from a small community, again, Luton. It's not the biggest community, so word spread around. And it very much got me involved in it as well. In school, I started my own group with one of my friends, again, at the age of like 11, 12, which was called Vital Nights.
Made some good songs, man, I tell you.
Yeah. It was quite like a cultural thing in the community. Yeah. That's how I started at the time. We pursued it for a few years as kind of like a child group. We were the youngest group on Channel AK. I think to ever be on there. I think at the time, where they playlisted us, and then pursued that for a while. Ended up moving all around the world, basically, so losing contact with the rest of the guys. And then as I got into my uni years, I now started pursuing my own individual career. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like your sound is, when I think about VK, your sound has changed
100 million %.
from that.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
what's made you pivot into this? Like, maybe
Okay.
let people know what that sound was, and then what genre that was.
Yeah, so Vital Nights, when we were like 12 to 15. That was mostly
Is that young?
That's a long time ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, literally. So that was mainly like a grime kind of sound, but more of a commercial grime at the time. It was kind of when the grime sound was transitioning out of sets and those kind of things more towards being on Channel AK and N-dubs and like that kind of era. That's kind of where we entered. And funny enough, the main single that we were known for was called We Just Entered.
No, because I'm singing in my head.
No pun intended. So we were doing that for a while. And then me personally, in growing up, I've got quite a skill developed in rap and grime, basically. So that's something that I've always been able to do and be able to access very easily. Growing older, I kind of felt like I needed a new medium to express myself, and I felt like it was better to do that via melody and singing. So again, I'm not necessarily Aretha Franklin, you understand? But I'm trying. And I feel like the world itself, again, with growing up and growing older, I feel like there's quite a distinction between words versus melody, and music being such an important part of life in general for everyone. You can teach people how to read, to improve their speech patterns, everything, but mostly through melody. So that's like a consistent thing in life. So I wanted to be able to do that and to be able to reach people better, get my emotions across better, express myself better through melody and singing. That's how I've kind of transitioned into that. My current sound it's not like vintage R&B. It's not like Luther Vandross. It's not like 90s R&B, 2000s R&B. It's more kind of like the alternative, new kind of sound. I'd say more kind of off the tree of like the Toronto kind of dark R&B sound. That's kind of where I operate, and I just really connected to it. And also, again, while I was doing grime, my own personal brand was quite I call it like girl songs. Like you know those grime artists that do the girl songs.
Like
Tiny Temple, Wifey, that kind of bashy as well. I feel like I'm from the tree of people like Bashy and Kano and those type of people that kind of, it's almost like on the left field almost. But so my music is very much relationship based, couple based, singing about love, situationships, all of that kind of stuff, and trying to fuse it in with the current sound as well. But as I've grown, I've now expanded my sound. I'm doing a lot more Afro beats.
Nice, yeah. I hear you speaking Yoruba on the track.
Oh, I'm trying.
Yoruba is a language of love.
You
Okay?
know it very well, literally.
Yes.
So it's like, when I'm trying to do it as well, I'm hoping they're not judging me as I'm trying to do my.
That's fine. No, it's good.
But yeah, so now that's more where I operate, singing in. Trying to express myself on all the different sides of myself, basically, all the different aspects of my personality. I lived in Luton, I've lived in Nigeria for a period of time, lived in Houston, Texas for a period of time growing up. I'm just trying to fuse and amalgamate all of these different sounds and expressions, basically.
You said, I'm not too sure if you said currently, but you work in like the music industry as well, innit?
I spent, not currently, I kind of took a break away from it. So when I was doing a lot of the music industry stuff, record labels, artist management companies, this was before this was prior to, 2015 with all, they always talk about, like, there was like a resurgence of like grime and German whip and Stormzy and all of that. So I was...
German whip. Yep.
I was literally just before that. Okay. So when I studied music and entertainment industry management at University of Hertfordshire, where a lot of the lecturers were working at the Sony building or signed Pink Floyd and all of these types of people. So at my period of time when I was doing it, I'm trying to beg them, like, yo, I know you guys are still into indie music and Enes Shikari and all of that, but we should talk more about this grime thing that's kind of bubbling. Like Dizzy Rascal only a couple years ago did Bonkers, and it was that kind of time period where we were transitioning. And yeah, I got to do a bit more. I spent when I started transitioning out of the music industry and working more on myself was when it was the two places I was at: Insanity Talent Management, which is now Insanity Records, and Relentless Records as well. At Insanity Talent Management was when I was looking after a few artists like Lunacy. I was part of the management team for Lunacy, Sigma. At the time, they had the #1 single, Nobody to Love. Nobody,
Oh my gosh, I remember that. That was such a uns.
Yes, literally.
That was a lead of uns. Yes.
And it was like the experience, it was a great experience at the time because I was young and I was hungry and I was in university. But at the same time, it was kind of itching on me, like, I'm getting all of these, Esseo, can you help me pick up size 10 Nike Air Forces for these people? And everyone's just getting gifted. It's like, the way I'm running around for all of these guys. And then obviously after that was when I transitioned to Relentless Records. I was coming out of university at the time. I was an intern, so obviously when it comes to paying, they didn't necessarily want to pay as well. And obviously even that is a whole thing about whether you should pay interns and the type of
that's crazy. Are they working or
backgrounds
not?
you're from.
Are they working or not? So should you pay them?
Nice free labor, and especially when you're in central London as well. So I'm a student and I'm not getting paid, and I have to go and have lunch.
It's crazy
in Oxford Circus.
It's crazy.
But it was like I wanted to transition out of that because it was just like this is stuff I need to do for myself.
Yeah.
I got to meet a lot of people, made a lot of contacts, a big network. And it was just like, let me just use it and apply it to myself. Because at the end of the day, this is my actual passion for myself, not necessarily to run around doing it for everyone else.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen.
No, I was just gonna say. See, this is why I asked you, because I feel as though a lot of the time people who are making music, they make a particular type of music just based on their passions or whatever it may be. But because you've got insight, because you've worked with artists, because you've been in managing, everything, intern and stuff like that, has that tweaked how you package your music?
100%, definitely.
Okay.
100%. It's even that I feel like it's a constant battle because again, everyone always talks about music and music business, which are two different things. And the music business side for a lot of people can be quite upsetting because it's like that's when you now have to compromise or you know what I mean?
Sounds,
yeah,
all that
exactly.
stuff,
Appeal to a wider audience, all of these types of things, and just be more aware.
More commercial, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
Make the money.
You know what I mean? 100%. That's what that's most of the time what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing this just for me and my
Vibes.
friends to just to be listening
yeah.
on our phone. But luckily for me personally, it's been a search of how my music is about telling my story. As opposed to making a single that I can just talk about anything and be like, okay, this is a single and this is what everyone wants to hear. So my career has been kind of finding a way to marry telling my story with also making it appealing as well. And as the years have gone on, I really feel like I'm getting so much better at that. And the marriage is getting better, but still sometimes I'll still take some time out to do what makes me happy, express myself, but also I want people to like it.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Have you worked with certain people in the industry already? Have you tried to use some of your
contacts?
Yeah.
Do you know, in regards to right now, it's actually going quite well with with contacts. Not necessarily artists, but in this, I've got a really good network in the industry. So, for example, I think I told Esther before, like Notting Hill Carnival, for example. I performed at Notting Hill Carnival at the Afrobeat stage. Because I've got a connection with DJ Abbas. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he's one of the most pivotal people who started Afrobeats in the UK. And what's the other one? He was, you know, the Ben Channel OB.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He was pivotal in creating that as well. So I remember when I was younger, I'd be like, I don't want to watch this. This is all the Nollywood films.
I hate that channel when I was growing up.
I'm telling you.
Now I'm the girl watching Hollywood.
So again, even when I was just coming back from Nigeria as well, he hooked me up with a lot of contacts. So I've always been able to that's what it is, leverage my contacts in the industry. In regards to artists, it hasn't been so much artist based, but luckily I've developed good relationships with a lot of the platforms when they were kind of coming up as well, like Link Up TV, Mixtape Madness. These at the time, these were people that were building. They weren't where they are currently. So I managed to be able to develop a relationship with them, which helps me a lot in some of the stuff I want to do and achieve as well. So big up all of those guys as well.
That's good, man.
I feel like you always hear like about artists that want to be signed and stuff, and like the drama with record labels. And would you want to be signed? I've having worked at a few.
Yeah. Do you know what? I personally, and again, it is for each individual case. I personally would love it and benefit from being signed. Yeah. I've currently got a publishing deal with Centric Music, but not a record deal anyway. But for the benefits that you can get associated with a record deal, of course I would want it. But it's more the fact that I know. I know exactly how it works. For example, when I was at university, each year, one of the modules was to do with law. So I'm very good at contract law. Not contract law, let me say that. I'm good at contract law. Entertainment law, I'm very good at, and media law. The Copyright Designs and Patents Act, I know like the back of my hand. It's impossible for a record label to finesse me. It's actually impossible. So I'm so prepared for that, and I know how we can talk and how we can leverage and what I need. What do I need from the marketing department? What you shouldn't be taking from me. What a manager shouldn't be taking from me. So in regards to having the wherewithal of knowing what you need, that's covered, so I can't be finessed. But it would be nice if the knowledge was more spread as well. I think it's the law side and the legal side which tends to catch people a lot. I remember a couple of years ago, I saw an interview with Krept and Conan. Even the guy that signed them, I think initially Mike Smith, he's someone that I actually had a relationship with as well, that I got to meet and sit down with and do quite a bit of stuff with. One of their stipulations of their record deal was that so I think God forgive me, you guys as well if you hear this, I'm not trying to get it wrong. So I feel like, let me just do an example then. Let's say you're in an 80-20 deal. So 80% goes to the record label, 20% goes to you. Cool, that's all fine. But I think where it catches people now is that even though they're taking 80%, in regards to recouping the money that you owe them for the advance that you took, basically, you're going to be paying out of your 20% to them as well.
Do you know what? I've heard this catch a few people out, because it's like even with like marketing and stuff and like video budgets and all that stuff, some people assume that the label are going to do it, or the label's done it. So because you're getting 80%, like you've done it. You basically covered it from your share. But then labels like no, from your share. And in your share, you still got to pay your manager.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I can't remember
manager.
Someone talked about this last year. I can't remember who it was, but they didn't know. They didn't realize how much money they owed because they just thought. I think it was an Afrobeat artist. I can't remember. There's a lot going on with Afrobeat artists now. I think Ashake's left
YBNL.
I think he has, and I think he's wanted to start his own label. Shally Poppy as well. Recently, I think he said that, but it's tricky though. There was someone else recently, but I was reading it last month. But yeah, they don't realize that the money for your videos, even when you fly people out, like your transportation from here to here, that all comes from your share.
Exactly.
But then they're taking the bigger share. It's mad,
It's mad. And then one of the other finesses as well. So let's say I'm a record label. Cool. I've signed you. For these days it's different because it's more of a singles driven market. Yeah. But let me see if I can go by like the old archaic model. So let's say I've signed you for one album. I've given you an advance for one album with the option, which is the label's option, that if I like the album, I'll pick up another album with you. Cool. The issue with that is now, let's say I've signed you for one album, again, 80-20 split. From your 20%, you haven't been able to recoup, let's say, the £300,000 advance I've given you. So now it's either that you are in perpetuity owing me that money, or you find a way to come up with it. So let's say, all right, cool, let's do another album so that you can make more money.
But you're going to go into debt with that one.
Exactly.
You just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper in debt, 100%. You never covered the first one. That's how you end up getting shelved, or that's how you end up getting stuck on a label forever.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah, literally. So it's just about knowing.
Yeah, that
And,
knowledge.
it's even beyond knowing, to be fair. It's about having an entertainment lawyer, to be honest.
Well, what about them deals where I think they're just as bad as that, where, for example, if the label no longer believes in you or whatever, or there's a new artist, they just shelve you. But because you're signed, you can't move on to another.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're stuck. Even after your contract ends, I think, similar to like normal workplace environments as well. Like, let's say you worked in a pensions company.
Yeah.
And then you left that company, you wouldn't be able to work with one of their competitors for a period of time as well.
It's like a no-compete clause, basically.
That's exactly it. Now you're restricted from making money as well. But personally, I think there's ways to argue these types of things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, a lot of people complain about, when I signed to a label, this was my A&R, this was the director of the label, this was who was the label director, these are the people that were working on me and for me, but now they've left the label, they've been fired or they've been shifted around to another label. So now you've been impacted. No one because it's people that work in the labels, it's not AI, it's people. So if they don't care about you, how can you get them to push for your career? But I personally think that these things can be argued in court. So let's say I signed a deal under this pretense, and if that no longer exists, then how can I still be held to it?
Yeah.
I think there's ways to do it, or what do they call it? Undue influence and all of these types of things. I think there's ways to argue around.
The power of the record label now scares a lot of artists.
And that's, I think, but I think that's the thing, is that fear makes people not try.
Exactly.
But then closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to try and then see what happens.
But then even if you do win now, I feel like sometimes you may win. If you're not going to go independent after that, you might be done for, because the other labels thinking they don't want to
stay.
Exactly. See, now
is that a real thing?
What
like,
as in?
Say you got someone who's called out the label or whatever.
Yes.
The other labels look at this person and think, ugh, not that one.
Yeah, they're all friends. All the labels, they're all friends. We like each other. We don't like each other, but we like each other. We all go to the same dinner. We all go to the same Grammy party. You don't understand. So it's like, if you're doing that over there, I don't think you're gonna come over here and do that.
That's crazy.
Plus, I don't even need you at the end of the day.
That's blacklist,
I can make you.
That's a proper blackballed situation.
That's true.
100%.
Let me throw a scenario at you, yeah? Okay. Well, this is basically from Stacey, yeah? She's a US correspondent. She calls up all the time. But she works in the industry as well, right? In America.
Okay.
Right? So she said, we're all about paying people their worth until it comes to artists, yeah? Teams, management, for example, they get paid off of the gross. What's the problem with that? So she's basically, it sounds like, obviously Stacey, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like, not necessarily she's agreeing with the 80-20 split, but just because yours is only 20% and you pay, like in any other workplace, it's a similar sort of thing. They pay them this, they'll pay whoever's involved in certain things in the business. Then the artist comes less.
Interesting.
After.
It's very interesting as well. So, for example, the different like stakeholders do play a part as well. I think so. Managers. I think, for example, a tour manager who is likely hired by the label might get paid off the gross, I think. So again, Stacey, if I'm wrong, forgive me. Whereas a manager works for the artist. So you're supposed to be taking anything that I make, now you take after that. So if I'm like, I believe that should be off the net. Yeah. But if it's like a tour manager, anyone that's hired by the label, I think that'll be off the gross. It's a weird one because it's all about, the word is exploiting, but it's like not in the negative connotation way, but in a sense of there's this product and let's see how much money we could draw out of it. Exactly. Yeah. So it depends on, because they do a lot of work, the record label, and then obviously at the same time the product comes from the artist. It's a difficult one.
I feel like that's tends to be the conversation when it comes to like creative stuff though, because people don't always see creative work the way they will see like an engineer or a plumber or someone. Do you get me? Something that you can,
100%.
I guess you can quantify in that way. Like
Yeah.
you can see, like if someone builds your house, you can see that they built the house. You can see the things that within the house. And you can tell, you can measure how long it took them to build that house. But when it's creative stuff, it's more about, okay, yeah, you've done all of that, but does the finished product give us the results that we want? And if it doesn't, then it's automatically deemed as that wasn't successful. But then it took a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of talent and skill and stuff to create that in the first place. And just because it didn't chart number one or whatever the case, it doesn't dismiss all the work that went into it.
100%.
So,
And you know what else is that music as well is one of, in my personal opinion, one of the most like in people's heads devalued products in the world. Obviously, it's one of the things. It's almost like water. Everybody uses music for everything. If you're watching a movie, there's going to be music in it. If you're washing the dishes, there's going to be music. It's used everywhere, but no one necessarily respects it. I think I saw a few days ago there was an argument that people say, yeah, music should be free. Like we should just be able to access music and stuff like that. But it's like, bro, like you don't understand how much it took to create that music. How much even the artist that's creating the music is even getting paid for the music. Everyone just thinks music should be accessible.
to be fair, I have that argument because
Okay.
I have an iPhone and I pay for Apple Music.
Yeah.
And that annoys me because I'm like, I might as well stuck with an iPod and just had a, I don't know, Motorola or something then. Do you get what I mean? But it does make sense because how would the artist get paid? But I just feel like Apple should cover that bill.
They should do. That's the problem.
They're making a lot of profit. They can cover the profit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Even with streaming companies, for example, Spotify. I'm not too knowledgeable about Apple Music. I know Spotify for a long time, at least in the 2010s, wasn't even a profitable company. So when they were paying, what was it recently? Maybe about a year or two ago, I know the industry was lobbying for Spotify to be paying out more to creators. And the way that they pay is almost like, it's almost from like a pool in a sense, where we've got this pool and then you'll get what you get based on that. And it's so techie. For example, someone like Drake, for example, who draws in a massive audience to the platform of Spotify, I believe would be getting paid at the same rate of someone who just started making music and released their first song on Spotify. It'd be the same rate, even though someone is drawing more to the platform than the others.
It's about what the platform makes, really.
If the platform made more money,
Then,
by God's grace, they would give more to the artists. But no one rates artists at the end of the day. The platforms are doing the deals with the record labels. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna quickly mention something. I hope this doesn't offend anyone as well. But for example, when Spotify started doing podcasts, for example, in regards to podcast deals at the time when it was big deals, for example, I don't think Spotify would have given a big bag to Drake for the kind of bag that he gave to Joe Rogan, for example.
Okay, I get you.
Do you understand? Whereas Spotify was built off of music. But obviously...
became a podcast platform.
You see, in regards to what's more lucrative. I remember I had... Sorry, to just draw to a close. There was one argument that I personally had where I saw... there was an episode of the Joe Budden podcast. Back in the day, they used to do sleepers. I don't know if they still do
Sorry,
it.
why is the mic sounding like that?
Stacey's...
They do.
Oh, okay.
For you to hear after.
Okay, no, go on.
So I don't know if they still do sleepers on the Joe Budden podcast, but my thinking was, okay, cool. Let's say he plays one of my songs on his podcast, which goes out to 1 million listeners for that one episode. To me, that should equal 1 million streams for my song, and I should be paid for that. But no one really. That's not really.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Because the song has gone out to.
My song was consumed.
Okay, so you think, because that's how many times the song was consumed, that should go into the listens. But then chances are, I feel like stuff like that is like an ad though, because then if someone, say you do an ad on this, it's now about the clicks they get post ad. So now it will be how many times your song is consumed after based off the recommendation or the play that you got on the podcast. Do you
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
in the industry, we call that
money,
trade.
Go on, Stacey.
In the industry, we call that trade. The value that you would have gotten for running that advertisement monetarily, instead of charging you a fee, you got that promotionally, and in exchange, you didn't ask you for anything. Where they could ask you for money, or you could give them some type of value, whether it be a ticket giveaway to give to their fans, whether it be merch you raffle off. That is a promotional cost that you didn't pay monetarily in exchange for trade.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's interesting because, again, if you played my song as a as a sleeper, for example,
Yeah.
that's because you enjoyed my song.
Yeah.
I didn't come to you and ask you to promote
play,
my
yeah.
song. And I still
And
don't
they
think
did
they
it.
should forgo my money.
So would you rather a percentage of nothing is nothing? So would you rather forgo the promotion and get zero than get the promotion and it catapults you into more rooms?
I think you should get both, personally. I think like if you promote
And that's
my
the
work,
delusion of artists that I'm talking about.
oh,
My
We
point.
didn't even know
My
you're talking about it, Stacey. This is the first
Sorry.
we've heard of it.
Sorry. And it's
Go on, babes.
interesting because I saw a Twitter thread about this earlier today when it comes specifically to Afrobeats. And they were talking about how Afrobeats artists, the reason why Afrobeats, I don't want to say is failing, but we're seeing a decline when it comes to Afrobeats is because I guess it was Fido, I don't know how you pronounce his name, that was talking about how
Oh,
he
that
thinks
song
that,
is banging. The guy who sings that Joy
that
is Coming song.
I've heard this.
yeah,
Joy is
that he thinks
coming.
that
It's a banger.
marketing managers are useless, and I guess he tweeted something about how he thinks that management and marketing um don't act as if it's the artists who need them as opposed to the artists who need them. Where I probably worded that wrong, but you catch my drift.
Yeah.
But I think that one thing that I think specifically hurts Afrobeats more than anything, and I think on all levels, not just the artist level, is and I think it also in this specific example that I'm going to mention doesn't just impact Afrobeats, but it's something that happens with all artists across all genres, is that artists seem to forget that you could have great music, but if you don't have a good team behind you, it's null and void. There's a reason why your song, your album didn't make it past SoundCloud, or at least it had a ceiling as far as what it was able to reach past SoundCloud before you got a team behind you. And not to say that it's only the major labels who are able to do that for you, but until you got experienced management, before you got experienced marketers, before you got experienced agents who put you on the right set list, who put you as the right support for certain tours, who marketed you in the right rooms, who put you on the right opportunities. It's like you diminish that on account that it's my music that got us here, but you and your music can stay there on SoundCloud, but until you have strategy behind you, you don't realize how important that is to the success of your career. And I'm not attacking the host. I think this is a general thing with artists, but it's delusional. And as someone who works in music and understands the business aspect of it, there comes a point in artists' careers where they see a certain amount of success and they attribute it solely to themselves when they don't realize that there's a lot of people who are on payroll, a lot of the entities that they employ that are largely responsible for the success that they see themselves. And they don't realize that their decline is solely because they started eliminating people from their team and they don't get the certain support that gets them into those rooms that catapulted their career, that got them the success in the first place. So artists need to get out of their head that is, yes, by all means, you are the star of the show, but understand that your stardom and the longevity of such is a product of the work of multiple individuals, not just because you were able to produce such great art. Great art only lasts when there's a team behind it. There's a lot of great artists, great singers, great rappers, great dancers, etc., who go nowhere but their local neighborhoods because they don't have the strategies that a lot of these privileged artists have. So don't forget that.
I feel like for me, it's like you can give credit as well, but I do feel like you should be getting paid though. So not necessarily in that people haven't got you to the point where you are, but even still for the point that I'm at, I should still get paid. Like even if it's only that I'm doing a show to 20 people, I should still get paid.
Yeah.
For example, like let's say an artist performs at Glastonbury. No, not even performs at Glastonbury. Let's say a DJ plays an artist's song at Glastonbury. Of course, Glastonbury is probably one of the biggest promotional stages for an artist. But what there is in the UK anyway, you have things like PRS and PPL. So that those are the royalty collection companies. So if I have my song played at Glastonbury, for example, what should happen is that the collection society should collect the money for the song, whether it was for the lyrics or for the music or for the actual recorded song. So regardless, there should be someone still collecting the revenue for that song being played. And to be honest, the revenue should still go, if it's PPL, that's for recorded music. The revenue should still go to the record label. They should still be able to collect money from that, even though their artist was promoted on the highest promotion stage, and that should still trickle down to the artist. PRS, that's for the music and the lyrics. That should still be paid to the artist, even though you are on the stage. Like, promote. It's weird. Like there's getting a bag for doing the show, but there's also for the actual consumption of the song or the music or the lyrics, which
It's
should still
very
trickle down.
straightforward.
Yeah.
That's it.
What'd you say? Sorry.
It's very. I said it's very straightforward. Like at the end of the day, when you think about when you go to different, well, I think the U.S. market when it comes to like music consumption, at least I'm thinking from that perspective. So don't take me as sliding what's happening across the pond. But like when I go to sports events and the music that the DJs play at say a basketball game, there is revenue produced from that. They're only able to play from a certain uh carton of music because they have to pay, the arena pays a certain amount of money to have access to that amount that music to play it in their stadium, their arena, like their venue. Like artists and labels profit from that. But guess what? Who the person who organized that to even go into that carton of music to pick from, who do you think that is? That's someone working behind a label desk that is pushing that envelope and saying, do you know how burnt out Kendrick's music is when it comes to US arenas? Somebody is working behind a label desk saying this needs to be in the sports rotation. And I'm not saying it only happens exclusively the top artists, but it happens with all artists. There's someone working behind a desk in promo, in radio, someone who's working, when you talked about tour managers at a label, there's a difference between a tour manager at a label and a tour manager who's on the road. That's two completely different things. Or a tour manager at a label is the person who's responsible a lot more so for the promo when it comes to you going on late night TV, when it comes to promo runs, when it comes to being face to face with your consumerism versus a tour manager in live entertainment who's on the road with you, who's settling your contracts when it comes to getting paid out by the venue. Those are two different people. So what artists fail to realize is the way that you bust down the money you're saying you're getting duped. But at the end of the day, if you had nothing of that, how much would you be making?
But those two
went
parties are still
independent?
getting paid a salary regardless. Like if you're a tour manager, or either one of those, or you're just someone who works at the record label putting in work for the artist, no matter what. Like let's say you booked an artist for Glastonbury, or you booked an artist for a birthday party or bar mitzvah. You still get paid your salary.
Buddy.
Can I ask you a question?
No, but it's fast.
Who do you think gets paid for
sorry.
that? And this is my. I'm about to make a very clear point, and this is what I mean by artists not
guys.
understanding their business. Who do you think gets paid from that? When an artist goes and works for say a brand party or performs at a private event, who do you think gets paid from that? The label?
Yes.
False.
That's
It's your
not
agent.
no, it's not false.
It is false.
It depends on the type of deal you've got, but most likely
not.
that anything that
It's
you're
not.
it depends on
telling you
it does depend on the type of deal you got, because
Respectfully, I work for an agency. It is
What,
not your
let
label
him
who
finish
gives you that.
first. When you respectfully, a point has been made.
Your label is not doing deals for you to perform at a bar mitzvah. I'm telling you that as a matter of fact.
oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Like it might be it might be CAA or something like that.
Your agent is sourcing those deals for you, and your agent's getting their cut. Your label's not.
And the
is
label,
getting
but the
0%
label is
from that.
getting a cut. I can't lie to you.
They're
The label
not.
is getting a cut. I can't lie to you.
They're not.
Okay, okay, that would mean that I'm just gonna bow out, but it does mean that the label would be like, oh, like, I love that artist is getting paid from that. My artist that's signed to me is getting paid from that, and I hope they take the money and don't give any to me. And I just don't really see any labels do that.
Depending on the opportunity that you might have for a private event or say a showing that might be paid and sourced by your agent who is getting the cut, your label and your agency might decide to collaborate and find a way to make it then profitable for, say, the label. If your agent books you an event that might have a lot of eyeballs, your publicity team is going to get looped in. Your record label might get looped in to find a way to then curve that into listens for you, which profits the label's business model. But my point in this is saying artists do not understand the business model in which they are a part of. So they think I can do this without any of y'all and y'all deserve nothing. When in fact, all of these parties work in tandem so that you can have I'm not saying you, but I'm saying artists can have the career that they have. And I think that what artists don't realize, and I hope that artists moving forward can recognize more of, is that they need to study the business I think, yes, we cannot say that artists are not being exploited. They are. Labels are making billions, even though that streaming is a very small fraction of the piece. But how can you as an artist negotiate better for yourself when you yourself don't understand the business model of how things work? You spend so much time firing your agent, firing your manager when it's the label that's fucking you, and your manager and your agent had nothing to do with it. You don't understand the business.
True.
But you blame everybody and say fuck everybody, so then you make zero and you end up with nothing at the end, and you blame everybody when they're just going to run off to the next artist and go ahead and get their piece of the pie, and you're just going to be sitting there broke.
But Stacey, is everything you're saying accurate on a 360 deal? Or is
You
that
don't even know
different?
what a 360 deal is in terms of like everybody is
I got to
talking
that
about this whole 360 deal thing when it's like you don't, again, to the point of what's publicized in the media versus how artists are actually busting down money. What is a 360 deal to a manager?
It takes away money from the manager.
No, it doesn't, because a manager is making money off the gross. So regardless of what deal you have with your label, if your deal is for $100,000, I'm making my 20% off the gross.
I think that
And
varies.
so is your label. Your 360 deal is taking their percentage off the gross. So you might have a deal where your manager's making 20%. This is just a number I'm throwing out there for math.
Industry
I don't know
standard.
what. Right. Your manager's making 20%. Your record label's making 20%. They're taking 20% off the gross, so that's 40% gone. You haven't talked about expenses. So as an artist, you're probably walking away with probably 15, 20% because you didn't include expenses. That is poor business management as an artist.
Is it poor? Okay.
Because at the end
I
of
don't
the
know
day,
if people need
you
to
control your manager, you control your agency, you control the label deal that you signed. All of which, at the end of the day, the final say is you.
Is it exploiting the ignorance though?
It does.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what the maddest part is, because
But at the
in
end
one
of the
part
day,
saying that, artists to an extent are entitled, blah blah blah, but then also saying that record labels make billions and they can, and like you said, like Esseo said, sorry, I call you Esseo. Never do that. But like you said, these people that make these things happen, they get paid salaries. So however we look at it, it's still unfair that artists get paid the crumbs that they get paid or don't get paid at all. And then the solution should really be, how can that be changed? Not essentially enabling the way the industry robs these people.
Bear in mind,
that.
those calling for Christelle, the only way she's summoned is for Iman to start talking about Trump. She's not going to hear any of this until Iman starts talking about Trump.
Say something about Trump.
So she ain't
Say
coming.
Trump is good.
Trump is here to fix all of this. Trump believes in black people.
I'm not fighting that, Esther, but you have to understand that people are in this business for their better business interest. If I'm, say, a label, while in theory, it may be good to say I want to have better ethical practices, especially now when labels are making the least amount of money they've made in the history of labels. Like, they're trying to meet their bottom line. While ethics might be nice to prioritize, I think at the end of the day, I'm laying off people every other week. I like, we're barely able to keep our business afloat. I'm trying to make the most money where I can. So everyone, including the artist, has to do what's best for their bottom line. And if artists took the time to understand their business more than trying to be out here in Gucci and fucking gold, maybe they would make the right decisions. And this is a matter of fact. But at the end of the day, agencies, labels, etc., bend to the back of their artists. If all artists sat here and analyzed their business and said, listen, y'all are not acting at the best interest of the business model that I have in mind for myself. This is what I see in terms of percentage cuts. This is what I see in terms of investment. This is what I see in terms of revenue. This is how I feel like will be the best outcome revenue-wise for all parties involved. Where can you fit in terms of coming to a compromise with this? Agencies, labels, managers would find a way to find profit in that. But instead, they're seeing advances. They're seeing this is a check from what I make off a show, what I make off a tour. And to them, that's enough. And they're not questioning the ethics of the business partners who are involved in keeping them successful. So who do you then blame? The person who's better at working at the interest of themselves, or the artist who's not looking at their business model and saying this is not sustainable for music long term.
May I have a quick interjection? The only thing I would say is that a lot of the times a newly signed artist is most likely going to be under the age of 25. So it's quite hard for them to be knowledgeable and have all of the information, in a sense, when these are industries in which the information has been kept between them. Like, these people, they know that they're finessing an artist, or let me not say finessing, but they know how this is running. Whereas an artist, whether most of the I don't want to do too much, whether they're most of the time they're impoverished, whether they're from a working class background,
They
whether
catch them when they're desperate,
you
man.
see what I'm saying? Do you know what I
catch
mean?
them when they're low down and desperate. And I think also as well, like artists, like record labels remind me of like people that sell you insurance. They want to promise you heavens on earth and all that stuff. Like, you know what to say to people, and you make them believe that we've got. How many artists have come out and called out a label and said, but when we talked about this, when we had the meetings, you guys told me that you handle this, you handle this, you handle this. You told me not to worry about it. You just said to me, go forth and be creative and make some good songs. Everything else, we're here to protect. They speak to you as if they're your
On
family,
your side,
we're on your side. And yes, you can say that it is naive, but when you think about the times or the age people are signing these deals or whatever the case might be, and even their circumstances, do you get what I mean? They might feel like if I push back on this too much, it's a privilege. I'll be honest, it's a privilege to be able to push back too tough.
Yeah, true. That's true.
If you're someone who you don't like, you come from a poor background, you're struggling, you're doing this, and they want to sign you, you're thinking, if I push back way too much, are they then going to be like, okay, dismiss? Because that's how the music industry that's how media.
It's predatory.
That's how it treats creatives. It makes you feel like, if you can't do it, we'll just get the next one in. We'll just get the next one in. So these things affect people in the way that they have this conversation and the meetings and stuff. So I get what Stacey's saying in terms of artists should take with some responsibility, and that's what Esseo is saying as well. Is that that's an advantage of being able to learn the business side of things. That's an advantage when it is that you now have to have conversations with labels and stuff like that. But at the same time, we can't put the onus just on artists doing that when it is that a lot of the things that labels are doing are unethical anyway. There's got to be both parties have got to take accountability for that.
You know why? Do you know who should be shielding the artists from, say, things like that? Managers. Y'all, the media has been so focused on how labels take advantage of artists when labels, at least in most recent years, aren't taking advantage of artists or getting to a point where they have access to even take advantage to artists unless they've been able to organically create a following for themselves.
Yes.
Before an artist even has access to talk to someone like a label or gets the investment of someone like a label, do you know who's in their ear? A good manager.
What them got a manager? Not everyone has a manager though.
True.
And sometimes the label will say, we'll give you a manager.
Exactly.
That used to happen a lot as well.
Do you know what I mean? So
that's not happening in 2025.
Yeah, fair. Hopefully not.
No, we don't know that. We can't say these things in absolute.
I know that.
Because you don't. Because Lauren said actually that Esseo is right and you're also right, because the way the UK and US works are different. And that's why even like with the Fido is actually the artist I was trying to remember when I spoke about the Nigerian artists like that leave, that want to start their own thing and whatever else. A lot of them, the way the music works over there as well, because there's a few music people that I follow and stuff who are like, they manage artists, they talk to labels, they do all these things. And a lot of them talk about sometimes the artists are taking mindsets and arguments they're hearing US artists saying, UK artists saying, and saying, oh, hey, Nigeria, this is what I want you. And it's like, our processes don't work the same way because of the way that we distribute music, because of like, we have different processes here.
Infrastructure, everything.
Why I get what you're saying, but it can't be said as an absolute because you haven't spoken you don't know how music works globally, like in other countries outside of the US, and you haven't spoken to every single artist that's been signed. Do you get what I mean?
Respectfully, I work for a global music company.
What is it?
No one is taking an artist seriously until they have a team around them. I've been in meetings where we are talking about signing artists, where people are talking about who is on the rise, and one of the most important questions alongside what is their following, what is their monthly streams, is who is their team. So you might have good quality music, but if you do not have a team around you, you are nothing. You will not get far. And if you do have good music and you do have all the elements except a team, the first step is to figure out how to get a good team around you before you are worth anyone's time.
This is a
that they can be signed, and then they can be signed, and then the team will provide it for them.
Even
Right,
having
but
a
I'm
That's
team.
the point I made. So they can be signed without a team, and the team will provide it for them.
100%.
My point is the first step is to have a team. And if no team is willing to invest in you, then you are not worth most people's while unless you're making significant money without any support. You just happen to be an anomaly, which very few people happen to do that. That's when people start to buy on.
I have a good
this to say-
example. So
Yeah, go ahead.
someone like Coffee from Jamaica. I highly doubt that when she was initially okay, let's compare someone like Coffee to someone like Tyler. So obviously I don't know too much about Tyler's background, but I'm very sure that she probably grew up in an environment where maybe someone in her family was managing her, helping her get to this and that place. She was picked up early as an artist, was probably kept in incubation for years before being released to the public. Whereas someone like Coffee, obviously most likely from an impoverished background, just happened to be extremely talented, and her music happened to reach the record label, who then boomed her all over the world. But I think there's a case of artists who I definitely do believe that record labels don't mind signing artists who don't have teams, as long as we believe that we can exploit you.
And we'll give you a team. That's what I'm saying. And you just said the same thing, where if they don't have a team, then the artist will, the label will try and get a team together, wherever the case is. So they can be signed without teams, and they will create a team for them.
Let me show you another form of collusion. So, for example, let's say you are an artist signed to a record label in the UK. Let's say Sony Records. You're signed to Sony Records in the UK, and you want to reach new territories.
Like the good book says.
Yo,
Write down the vision.
whoa.
And you're signed.
I thought that was going to be a sound effect. I was thinking, where are we going with this one?
The good book. So you're an artist signed to a record, signed to Sony Records in the UK. Now let's say, again, this is a global music economy, and you want to do some music in Nigeria, for example. Now, you might be signed to Sony Records in the UK, whereas you might have a publishing deal with, I don't know if there's a Sony BMG in Nigeria, but let's say they've got a publishing division in Nigeria. So the UK one deals with records, and the Nigerian one might deal with the publishing. However, this is still under the same banner of Sony. So now there's, what is that thing called?
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, very much. You see what I'm saying? And that is very possible. So these types of things do still happen, where it all works out or it could all still work out in the favor of the business.
Under the same major label.
Sorry?
Say again?
How is it a conflict of interest when it's under the same major?
Because so for example, let's say I'm an artist and the record label gives me the manager. Obviously, these are two people who are working in tandem for the good of the record label as opposed to the artist. So no one's got the benefit of the artist invested.
But
They're there for the business.
who is contractually bound to the artist versus who's not?
Well, both of them are, to be honest.
No, they're
contractually
not.
bound
You
to the
don't
label,
sign.
no?
Nah, if
You
you're a
don't
record...
sign a. You don't have a contract for your manager. Your manager is essentially at will. You can
Nah,
fire
you
your manager
definitely...
tomorrow.
Look, let me hear what you're saying, sorry.
You sign a contract to your label. You don't sign a contract to your manager.
That's incorrect. I can't lie to you. If you
That
don't
is
sign a
very
contract
correct.
with your manager, you're not doing very well.
You sign a business contract to your manager where it's not time sensitive the way that you have for your label. Your label has certain output that is expected of you that you have to fulfill before you can terminate your business relationship with your label. Whereas a manager, if they're not living up to the standards at which you expect for a manager, you can fire them tomorrow.
Not
So if you feel like there's
necessarily.
collusion going on and you feel like they're not acting in the best interest as your manager in a business entity, you can fire them tomorrow.
Is that always the case?
There's
I think
no
that-
manager in the history of managers that has a contract that says we are working together for 2 years, regardless of how
Exactly.
you feel.
It might
That
be
doesn't
worked into your
exist.
management contract.
That's not a thing.
Nah, it might be worked into your management
Management?
contract.
No,
And
it's
also,
not a
I'm
thing.
not too sure about the difference in
Managers
him.
and agents are eat what you kill. If you don't do the work, you do not get to keep the business.
Do you remember that case? Obviously, you might. I just want to throw this out there so you can kind of, I guess, address it. Yeah. remember that manager who was taking money from, I think it's NSYNC, and what was the group that preceded NSYNC? I can't remember.
Is it Backstreet Boys?
Yeah.
Okay. Backstreet Boys?
Yeah, I think it was
Okay,
Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
Basically, he finessed them in some way where he basically was the manager, but put himself down as an addition, as a
member.
as a member of the group.
That's a scammer.
Exactly. So in a situation like that, like how do you get out of that situation? Because they were being finessed for years, and he
That's wild,
repeated the
isn't it?
same thing with NSYNC.
That's
The
mad.
same thing.
It's a crook.
I'm not following what you're saying.
I'm basically just trying to say, yeah.
All right. Sorry, man. Let me just cut in.
Yeah, go.
Crystal's here.
Okay.
See, I told you yesterday was Trump. Brent told you yesterday was Trump.
Good morning, Crystal.
Morning,
Just,
babes.
just ask the questions, and this is not to antagonize anybody. It's just to make sure
Sorry,
that
guys. You guys, wait 1 minute.
that
Can you hear
Stacey
me?
is supported.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm jumping on a call and I've told people I'm gonna talk to my boss. So you guys have 5 minutes from me.
I'm gonna mute up.
1
for
minute.
you,
I'm just trying to put it on loud. I feel like such a grandma on this phone.
Because you get on loud.
Okay, sorry. Yes. All right, go on. I'm a grandma. Honestly, go on.
Did
Sorry,
you hear our
guys.
conversations about the
No,
label
she
stuff?
wasn't.
No, she didn't know.
So
I've been on
main-
work calls all morning. Sorry,
I'm so
I've been
glad.
working for a label.
So the
Chris,
same.
so we were talking about the difference between the role of, say, a manager and a label in an artist's career, and how,
Oh, yes.
at least the last point that we were going back and forth about is how, say, a label you are contractually bound to, whereas a manager, it's I don't want to say at will because that's not the right verbiage, but an artist has the wherewithal to decide to keep or fire a manager based on their performance.
Okay. Well, yes, they're both contractual relationships unless you don't have a contractual relationship with your manager. So you normally just have like a standard management agreement that says, I'll pay you commission or blah, blah, blah. But you're right, there normally will be termination language for breaches if you feel like your manager's breached it. So it is an easier relationship to terminate. With a label, it is quite harder to terminate because you'd have to show that. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm doing my lectures because I lecture in music.
That's
Okay,
okay.
that's fine.
Stacey understands that.
But with recording contracts, especially in the UK, your biggest protection as an artist to get out of it is if we don't release a track, which is very unusual that we won't release a track without having a conversation with you that actually we don't think this track will work. Da, da, da. But I will say that I've never seen that happen in my career. I've been in labels for 6 years and I've never seen that happen.
All
so
right.
you're right. It's very hard to terminate that relationship.
Amazing. The question that we really want to know about is, I'm an artist and I'm signed to a label on a 360 deal, right?
Doesn't really happen, but cool.
And I've gone to a bar mitzvah to perform.
Yeah.
Does that label get a cut?
It depends. Again, I think people talk about 360s in a very weird way.
Come on.
It depends on what you're talking about as a 360.
Come on.
Come through knowledge.
This is what Stacey was saying.
That's it.
And 360, and when we talk about 360, guys, please come to my when we talk about 360s in the UK, I think a lot of people talk about it in the US perspective, but I will give you in the UK perspective. And yes, the answer is yes and no. Now, why I say to you yes or no is, again, it depends on what the terms say. Delivered. Yeah. Like, in a lot of contracts, we have this thing called ancillaries, right? Which is what people will say, quote unquote, the 360. It isn't really, because when people talk about 360, they're talking about complete 360 wraparound of your services. So sometimes they're talking about your publishing, they're talking about all that. We don't do that in the UK. We don't have 360 wraparound of your services. What we do have is the clause that says that we will take a cut of some ancillaries.
Yes.
Ancillaries being sometimes live.
Yes.
And that could be active or passive. Brands, that could be active or passive. Sponsorships, active or passive. Merchandise, active and passive. When I say active and passive, it means active means if we got you the opportunity, obviously we'll take a cut, right? They will take a higher cut. That's more prevalent in brand deals.
And even
because
that's
we have a brand. Yeah, we have an award-winning brands team. So we will take a cut, right? And then we have what is more passive. So that's when we say, for example, you are an artist that we found from nowhere. We are now building up your profile. So then we'll say a lot more that, hey, okay, we'll take an active right, because if people are coming to you for brand deals, we see it because they're coming to you because we built your profile.
Exactly.
So if you are an artist going to do a bar mitzvah and we have a passive right on you, then yeah, we would take maybe 10 to 15% of that booking. Now, the language is very complicated because I have a whole page of how I'll calculate that. But the easier answer to give you is yes, depending on if you have an ancillaries clause And if it's an active or passive right, if you go perform at a bar mitzvah, yes, we may have it. But if you had a clever artist lawyer, your artist lawyer could come and say, actually, my artist has already been performing. They've already been getting performances for, let's say, 2,000. So you label X can't get anything until that artist books something over 2,000. Because if you can already prove to me that you're already booking, then we have what we call a threshold, right? We have a threshold, and after that threshold, we'll claim money.
But Christelle, we also recognize that I think the part that you said earlier about who brought you the deal is very important. And again, it's the point of people not knowing the business, and they love to throw this 360 deal nonsense term, is that you have to understand this is a constant fight in the industry between the role of the label and the role of, say, the agent, because there are parts of those entities that overlap. Within labels, there are brand partnership teams who may bring you performance opportunities for events. I'm not saying exclusively bar mitzvahs, but let's just say it's an event, right? That makes you forward facing and then boosts the label's bottom line because it promotes your music. But also there are agents within your agency teams who brings you, there are brands partnership specific agents who may bring you similar deals. Whoever brings you that offer, we don't fight on these things because at the end of the day, it's the better interest of the artist, which then brings better interest to the bottom line of both parties. So we're not going to fight to break bread. Whoever brought it, even though the agent is responsible for booking, is the one who's going to eat if they brought the deal. On the off chance the label might do that. But at the end of the day, again, to the point of the bigger question that we're talking about, they make the percentage off the gross. If the money is 20K gross that was meant to be the profit off that particular booking, and the agent makes, say, 10%, and you spent 15K on expenses, they're not making 10% of 5K. They're making 10% of 20K.
No, that's incorrect. And it's incorrect depending on what ancillary. I'm sorry, and this is just a very technical point because obviously this is my job, right? Day in, day out. I have to go into very technical.
For a label, maybe. But for an agent, nobody.
So, it's a very technical point.
The revenue.
It depends on, it's a very technical point, and it actually depends on what it is that you're commissioning. So with some agents, some people, especially a live agent, because obviously you're talking about so many different ancillary. When you're talking about, that's what some people talk about 360s. You have to tell me specifically what you're talking about, because live is very different from when you're talking about brands, merch, right? Because for us, yes, on a brands deal, if it's 20K, we're taking 20% of 20K.
If you brought the deal. But if the agency brand team brought the deal, they're taking 20K off the gross of the deal that they brought to the table for that art.
If the agency bought the deal, we get nothing because our brands thing is active. And the only time that it's really passive is when you start talking about sponsorships, which is very different from when we talk about brands. But like in live, for example, we have a whole calculation which says, actually, we allow you to take off expenses, because actually we just take net on live.
Hate that for y'all.
Which, well, because we're not in the live business. So when we're saying live, we
work at a live, so I'm biased. My fault.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? We're not involved. I mean, we have a live business in some of our territories, but we, Sony Music, are not involved in the live business.
I get it.
For me, I'm recorded business. So for us, we take it from the net because we also understand that live comes with its costs. It's not just like a straight drop of money in your account, right? It comes with costs. You have to pay production, you have to pay this, you have to pay that. So we take it from the net to be fair. A live agent's a bit different. They'll take it from gross as well. You're right, but it depends on their calculations too. So it just depends on what they have put in their accounts about what they calculate, whether they take it from net or gross, and what they'll allow you to take away before they commission theirs. Because some people also don't like you taking away your management commission before they commission their money. But your manager will also argue that their commission should come out before anyone else's commission. So that's also something that we argue about when we're negotiating as well.
Hi guys. I just got a quick question. Because I'm just a bit confused, just multitasking. So this is for Stacey and Christelle, yeah? So when it comes to you guys getting paid, because obviously you're speaking for the record label. Now at the record label, everyone has jobs, right? And I'm assuming everyone has salaries. So when you're saying that stuff goes back to the record label, is that like based on commission? Like what is the motivating factor? And it's like, where does this, when it says, when you guys say the money goes back to the label, where does that exactly go to? Like, what are you guys kind of talking about in that sense?
So I work for
I'm
an
gonna have to
agency.
jump off. If you guys are still, sorry, I'm gonna have to jump off because I've got to go and talk A&R with someone. But if you guys are here in 15 minutes, I'll jump back on and answer questions.
Yeah,
I'm free
that
after that, but I'm overseeing a whole bunch of territory, so I need to run.
Thanks for
Hey,
staying.
girly, go make your
I'll be
coin.
back. I'll be back.
Okay,
Bye.
babes, thank you.
See ya.
To answer your question, Bathroom Diaries, I work for an agency. So, if I'm understanding your question correctly, you're saying if people are salaried for an agency, where does that money come from? Correct?
Not quite. I'm saying that because you guys were saying that's like if a person was to sign to a record label, and then you guys are a business and you have a business model and things have to come back to the record label. I just mean, like, where does it go to? Because I just see it as, obviously I'm coming from a very ignorant perspective. I just see it as people get paid regardless if the artist does bad or not. You guys are still getting paid anyway.
Yeah.
Like, as people that work for the
I can speak to the business model of a label as well as Christelle can, but my understanding in terms of what's in Brent, what's in common about both is that at the end of the day, like, you have to make the percentage that you ask for when it comes to negotiating like business contracts, when it comes to representing clients or artists in this particular case, at least on the agency side, but in a label side, their math is similar but different, is that you have to recoup expenses to be able to, and your staff is part of your expenses. It's not profitable if you say you're going to pay the artist an exorbitant amount of money and you haven't considered the fact that you're not going to be able to make the money that it costs it to be able to make that the artist that money plus keep a small profit for small or big. Let me not say small, a profit for the company, right? So on the live side, when it comes to agencies, I work in marketing, so I'm not booking clients. I'm not booking artists when it comes to their touring, their brand partnerships, etc. But when artists sign to, say, an agency, there's a percentage of their revenue. Let me not say revenue. There's a percentage of their booking fees that are kept as commission to the agency. The agency as a company gets a part of that, and then the agent themselves also get a percentage of that, depending on how they negotiated their employment deal with, say, that agency. So all of that folds into the math and all the things in the back end that the agency then uses to negotiate what percentage of the revenue or what percentage of the deals that they get to keep from, say, an artist. And I'd imagine that's similar on the record label side when they're saying, this is the percentage that we get to keep when it comes to different aspects of your line of business in order to not just recoup expenses, because they're putting money on the forefront to fund their careers. They also need to make a profit to exist as a business.
So it's
okay, cool.
Sorry, I was just gonna obviously I don't want to speak for Bathroom Diaries, yeah, but I think what she was saying is similar to what I was thinking earlier, yeah. So are you essentially basically saying that if there is 20% that goes towards that team who helps with all the stuff that you basically mentioned, say there's 20%, but yet there's people in that team who get a salary.
Yes.
That means if you're a big artist, your 20% is going to be far more than what you're actually paying for salaries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But that doesn't go back to
I'm not understanding what you're asking.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the money, because if you're a big selling artist, right, that 20% that you're getting for that team that's working your particular record, for whatever it is, yeah, since they're getting a salary and it's not necessarily based on how good the record sales are, since they're getting a salary, it's fixed, unless obviously the business goes under, yeah, but Universal ain't going nowhere, yeah. So since they're getting a fixed salary, the excess in that particular area, which is 20% roughly of what the artist makes, who is that money going to?
It goes to the record label.
That money goes to the label, but this is my problem and why I think artists think it just goes up in the sky.
Okay.
That money also gets reinvested to invest in the careers of continuing the business life of the label. That may go into bonuses, that may go into overages. Like, it's a business. Like, it costs money to run a business. And while
100%.
while I agree that a lot of times, I think a lot more times than we give credit to, that money goes into the pockets of a few higher ups. And I think that is worthy of being addressed. I think where artists goes wrong and why nobody, especially people in the industry who know this business, don't care to hear it, myself included, it falls on deaf ears, is because of the way that it's addressed. People think that the solution is, I'm going to fire everybody. I've seen it time and time again. Artists threaten to fire their agents, fire their managers, or their managers will then fire their agents because they're fearful of getting fired by their artists because they want to point the finger before they lose their jobs, like because they think that it's their team that's doing it. When in fact, again, like all of it is a collaborative effort. Everybody needs to work in tandem to see the success of artists succeed. So if you think that you as an artist are doing it alone, you are delusional.
I don't think
Sorry.
anyone thinks that, to be honest. I don't think any artist really thinks that I'm the one who's at the table and sending the emails.
Artists, respectfully, our African artists are delusional. Our African artists have a ceiling as far as their. I'm sorry, and it's not even. I can't even blame just them. A lot of their managers are the cause of their demise. A lot of their managers want to be celebrities equal to their artists so bad that they're willing to risk the careers of their artists and dash the career of their artist because they want to point the blame game as to why, when they're in the background, they're chopping their artists' money and they're not reinvesting it into the careers of their artists and collaborating with the right teams to push their artists into the right rooms and make them global artists. Respectfully, there's very few African artists who are doing it right. By very few, I mean Burna Boy. Like, not many people who are doing well.
I wanted to say something interesting. So, for example, in regards, I think what you said is really interesting as well about when the money comes back, for example, and then it being distributed through things like bonuses and like for the company wide and benefits packages and those type of things. That is really true. Like, for example, so I did my dissertation on Excel recordings. And this was at the time when Adele was, which album was it? I think it was 21. Anyway, from the sales of Adele's album, the company Excel Recordings, they saw a 400% increase in their revenue, basically. So, of course, that is going to feed back into, like, employees and bonuses. I wonder maybe potentially even salaries and stuff. But in regards to like commission and stuff like that, I don't think any specific team that might have worked on an album, it's not that their salary is now inflated or now that they get. But what you might be able to do is like, let's say if you're Adele's A&R, for example, you might be able to argue for points on the song, for example. But still, that is still kind of separate to. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of interesting. So it will, in a sense, and lastly, these record labels as well, the major ones, have been going since like the 1940s. So they're not scraping for money. So obviously currently in the 2020s, this is one of the times when labels are making the least amount of money, like she mentioned. Whereas in the 90s, the money was exorbitant, it was flagrant. But they have been gaining this revenue since the 1940s. They're not starving for money. So any money that's going back into the business, they're not lacking any. Whereas the artists may not be. They're still on the shallow end of the reception of the money. Like these guys are billionaires, or the company these are $1 billion companies.
The labels are rambling for money.
Labels as well are different a bit to promotions and agencies and stuff like that as well. So I do get in regards to the different parties as well. Like for example, I think her name's Stacey. Yeah. So some of the things that she deals with and like the reception that she gets from artists and stuff, or even the blame, isn't necessarily the same blame that would be attributed to the record labels. For example, you don't hear many artists complain about their publishing companies because publishing deals tend to be actually quite a bit better. The deals that you get in
they don't know what publishing does.
Stacey, we're gonna have to talk about that another day.
Girl. Thank you very much.
We can have a topic of the day on music and all that stuff. But because of time, we gotta go.
But thank you though.
Yeah, appreciate your call, man.
Stacey, being able to have access to your wealth of knowledge and experience is such a blessing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stacey.
Thank you. But yes, Esseo, please let people know where they can find your music and where you want people to follow you and all that great stuff.
Thank you very much, guys. So again, you can find me on all platforms. My name is, in regards to music platforms, just search for Esseo. It's ESSEO. On all social platforms, it's ESSEO. NWE. Again, like I said, I'm releasing a project soon.
Nice. Do you have a date for it yet?
I'm aiming for April 25th, but I'm still trying to work out. I've released 3 singles so far, but I'm still trying to work on it. But yeah, please stay tuned, and I will be dropping some new stuff.
Yes, and you'll be back hopefully.
Amen, definitely.
Good, love it. Are we doing Ask of a Friend, Brent?
Nope. We're going to do it on Thursday.
Okay. So what we headlines then?
Yes, please.
I love when people think about me. Thank you very much for thinking about me.
All right, people. So, trigger warning on this one. According to a report, almost 1,000 civilians have been killed and hundreds more injured in military drones attacks across Africa as the proliferation of unmanned aerial vehicles continues unchecked on the continent. At least 50 separate deadly strikes by armed forces in Africa have been confirmed during the 3 years up to November 2024, with analysts describing a striking pattern of civilian harm with little or no accountability. Although the rapid growth of armed drones deployed by Russia and Ukraine receives significant scrutiny, scant focus is being paid to the escalating use in Africa of a new breed of imported cheaper drones, such as Turkey's Bayraktar TB2, which on Monday released. This was said by Cora Morris, who works for a campaign group called Drone Wars UK, and they released a report on Monday speaking about the growth of armed drones in Africa. They went on to say this must change unless the international community moves rapidly towards developing and implementing a new control regime. We are highly likely to see more examples of the killing of civilians from the use of armed drones. So far, the use of armed drones have been confirmed in at least 6 conflicts in Africa: Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, and also Ethiopia, where most of the attacks were seen. Next headline, and the US Supreme Court on Monday agreed to hear a challenge to a Colorado law that bans so-called conversion therapy. So trigger warning, guys. The justices agreed that they will hear the case after a therapist from Colorado brought an appeal, arguing the state's restrictions violate her free speech rights guaranteed under the US Constitution's First Amendment. Conversion therapy, denounced by professional and health associations globally, but promoted by some religious conservatives, aims to encourage lesbian, gay, and transgender people to change their sexual orientation or gender identity. The highest court in the US previously turned away opportunities to rule on conversion therapy bans. More than 20 US states have banned conversion therapy for minors. Kaylee Childs, who's a licensed counselor and practicing Christian in Colorado Springs, claims that the ban in her state interferes with her ability to treat individuals with same-sex attractions or gender identity confusion who prioritize their faith above their feelings. Ms. Childs, who is represented by the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a conservative Christian advocacy group, has said that some of her patients seek out her counseling to resolve internal conflicts about their sexuality or gender identity. Colorado officials, however, have said that the law does not regulate speech, it regulates conduct. And our last headline, Colombia, whose president, Gustavo Petro, is a vocal critic of the US-led war on drugs, has urged the UN to remove cocoa, which is the main ingredient in cocaine, from the list of harmful substances. Used not only for cocaine, the cocoa leaf is also chewed as a stimulant in countries such as Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador, or brewed into a tea thought to combat altitude sickness. So Colombia's foreign minister, Laura Sarabia, in an address to the UN's Commission on Narcotic Drugs in Vienna, insisted on Monday that the leaf is itself not harmful to health. Removing it from a 1961 UN list of harmful narcotics, where it sits alongside cocaine and heroin, will allow it to be used to its full potential in industrial applications such as fertilizers and beverages. This is what she was saying. She also argued that legislation was the only way to stop drug traffickers monopolizing the plant, forcing rural communities to grow it for them and raising forests for its cultivation. In fact, she said that the number of recreational users of cocaine increased by more than 50 million in a decade. Colombia is the world's main producer of cocaine, most of its production in the hands of drug cartels and violent guerrilla groups. And the United States is the biggest cocaine consumer. There you go. And that's it for the headlines. Time to pay them bills.
All right, are we wrapping up or are we reacting?
Thank you very much, Christelle. We're going to choose another day to basically talk about music and stuff, and we're going to make sure that I let you know ahead of time.
I didn't say anything.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Christelle.
All right. Yeah, wrap up, please.
Yeah.
I would have stayed and done the things. Yeah.
I would have as well.
All right, so we're going on to asking for a friend so that like we don't have to wait till Thursday because we're not gonna have a show tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I have stuff to do, but let's do it. And they don't mind anyway. Tomorrow was just me and you and me and Manuel. They don't really want the crazy stuff.
That's true.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah. So we're saving you.
Wednesdays.
You're welcome. So let's go for asking for friends.
So just go into it, yeah?
Yes, please.
Okay, lovely. All of them?
Yeah. Now that I'm here.
Now that we're here, clearly. Okay, so first one from someone who's age 21, I believe is a man. So how would you recommend I go about doing my world tour appropriately? Some backstory. I had a girlfriend for 2 years. My first one ever, by the way. And we got together first year uni. She got a job outside London and started cheating on with her older work colleague. We're the same age, by the way. She always used to bang on about him and she would brag about how nice he was until one day I found out they had been doing dirt behind my back. So I broke up with her instantly and honestly, I just want to live my best life. No strings attached and be free. When I go up to girls, I tell them from the off, I'm not looking for anything serious right now and I just want to have sex. I have a lot of weird looks and a lot of no's. I'm trying to be upfront and honest. Is there anything you could suggest for me to do to improve my chances? I thought women liked honesty and transparency, and I'm being that, but unfortunately, I think it's holding me back instead of progressing me. Do you know what I always find funny? I always find it, maybe she shouldn't have done this actually. I always find it funny when people say, oh, I thought women wanted honesty because you've been met with the answer you don't want. They still like honesty, you mug. Yeah. They just don't want to do what you want to do. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, men, advice for this man to spread his wild oats.
You go first.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I think you should keep telling the truth. I'm not gonna lie.
Can you imagine?
Just because you told the truth doesn't guarantee you that you get what you want. I can't lie
jail,
to you. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles. I can't even lie.
Yeah, I feel like, I agree. I think that, like, you have to keep telling the truth. You can't see people under false pretenses.
Exactly.
You will end up in jail.
It starts getting,
like, what the hell?
You see?
You just haven't found the right people to that are on the same wave that you're on. So I wouldn't say, I don't think you can improve your chances of being met with yes for what it is that you want. If you're meeting people who desire relationships, and then, like, of course they're not going to desire what it is that you want. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So there's no way that I don't think there's any advice to give someone to get a yes for sex buddy from somebody when they said, no, I want a relationship. I don't know how you make that happen without using witchcraft. So,
but I think his approach, the way it sounds, is like
he's just going straight to them. Hey, you want to have sex?
I think that's what he's doing, you know. Because like I say, he's 21. Yeah. But he literally said, when I go up to girls, I tell them from the off.
That's scary.
I'm not looking for anything serious right now, and I just want to have sex. That's insane.
Yeah. You know.
That's a threat. What the hell?
I think I do have some advice, as well. Even if you're just trying to do the physical thing, it's true. Still treat people like humans. You understand? Exactly. Still develop relationship. Get accustomed to each other. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that now that's all.
Learn her last name.
These are humans. You understand?
Damn.
Real talk.
Yeah, that's actually get to know people a little bit more. Like, don't start doing boyfriend stuff. That gets the girls annoyed. But get to know them. You can't just walk up to someone and say, "Hey, you want to have sex? I want to." What the hell? That's wild.
Or you get me. There's things that's for that. You can get fleshlight. You can
There you go, sir. I hope that's helped because I don't know what else one can say.
And to be fair, when girls say, we just want honesty and transparency, they don't mean first time when you answer.
I mean, I wonder if you cheat on me or not.
You know what I'm saying? And like, you can at least take her out once or twice.
Feed the girl.
You guys are both hungry.
He's definitely hungry. But you know what I mean? Like,
exactly,
interact with people. Yikes. Anyway, big up you there. I respect that. I respect the self-respect he has for himself. He broke up with his girlfriend after cheating on him. Yeah, I love people with self-respect. It's very good.
To me, this approach is completely different than Grindr.
Oh no, that's what everyone's there for. In Grindr for the gays though.
You answered what you answered. You said what you said.
What? You know, we shouldn't have done this.
I've
Should
heard
have paused this
stories.
after Thursday.
I've heard stories, right, where there's no beating around the bush.
Yeah, people are
There's
just straight
a
up.
location.
Yeah.
Whether top or B, you know.
It's age,
And
it's
then it's
ASL.
on.
That's diabolical.
I'm telling you.
I never said that word in this show. But word, that's diabolical.
100%.
Crazy.
Yikes. Anyway, who's next? This person's age 24. Says, hi guys, I was wondering if you could help me with how I could help my younger brother. My younger brother is 14, but is getting teased in school because he doesn't look like me, my brother, or my sister. Me, my sister, and other brother are identical triplets. My younger brother had just joined the school where me, my sister, and older brother went. And after I'm done with work or school uni, I go and pick him up, and I saw that he was getting teased because of his looks. I did mention to him that I saw him getting teased because I thought it would be embarrassing for him. Being honest, growing up, I can always remember people complimenting us three triplets on how we look, and also our mum. But we look exactly like our mum, but my younger brother looks more like my dad. I'm not inferring that my younger brother or dad are ugly, but it's just an observation. It's tough to see how it's playing out for him, and I don't like seeing it as an older sibling. How should I handle this? Because it's been on my mind for a while. What do I teach him or tell him about how to deal with it? Oh, that's sad. I bet you gotta affirm him. But I don't affirm him in a way that you feel like you've heard people saying things about him. But I think you just got to help him build his confidence. Like, to be fair, you're 14, you're wearing uniforms and stuff. But just maybe, I think stuff like that, you got to nurture the confidence within him. But that shows up in different ways. And it's not just in exterior things. It's how he feels about himself. It's maybe you helping him discover a talent or skill he has. And then like encouraging him with that so he can be the best at it. Like he's got to be confident all round. And that way he will hopefully never care what it is that people have to say.
Yeah.
You can meet them kids at the bus stop too and just have a word. But I'm not promoting that. My mom did that one time, you know.
Is it?
She did that one time, it was funny. Never had problems again, I tell you.
No, but sometimes you must have
Sometimes
seen.
you need to.
You saw that video of the woman on the bus.
The auntie said I put in my nose for 2
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
2 minutes. She said I will put you inside my nose for 2 minutes, and I just said, "Fair, auntie. Yeah, long day." But what would you guys advise, especially as men?
Maybe say to him at the end of the day,
But remember, he doesn't know if he's heard it. I think he will know though.
What do you mean if he's heard it?
So basically, he saw he heard people saying it when he picked him up, but he didn't tell his brother that he heard him being teased.
Okay.
So I think it was just like kind of back chats. But in my mind, they would do it in school as well. So he definitely would be getting teased in school as well.
Maybe just, I guess since your brother doesn't know, just kind of put in those little things
Nuggets,
here and there. Yeah. Just basically just saying, I guess that people's looks and what people like change over time. And say that you are handsome, beautiful guy now, but you notice that certain times what you think is fashionable now, what people like now, what girls like now, isn't necessarily what they like in 10 years' time, especially when it matters. You know what I'm saying? So bear that in mind, that sort of thing. And basically just say, listen, this is what it is. Like, you're hearing us getting compliments now, me and mum and the rest of the triplets or whatever, but that wasn't always the case.
That was always the case, yeah. I think stuff like that. Actually, yeah, make it relatable kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Anything to add?
That one, an easy one. Do you know what? I feel like it's difficult because, again, at that age, it's quite...
You care what people think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even the people around you, they're not using mature mind. But one thing I really believe is that everyone benefits and will be paid the dues for being themselves completely. If you can be yourself completely, confidently and strongly, if you can help instill that in them, I'm sure that everyone's gravitational aura would change to them somehow and things will look better. People admire people that are strong in being themselves.
100%.
Absolutely. Agreed. Next one. I'm not going to say your name just in case. You never know what these dilemmas go, Cha. So I have a dilemma for y'all. It's not too long. Basically, I've grown up in Barking my whole life and I've had my various group of multicultural friends growing up. The thing is, I have black friends and majority of my friends are black, mainly based on my proximity, obviously, but I never seem to be taken serious by them. I'm kind of the funny, nerdy guy in the group, so I've noticed my friends just want me to be around just for vibes, but when it comes to deep conversations or knowing key information about stuff, they always seem to leave me out. I've taken a look at myself and I realised that it's not me, it's them. You sound like me. It's not me, it's them. And I kind of feel like a joker/jester in my friend group, but I realise my nerdy friends, who the majority of aren't black, genuinely treat me better as a person and as a friend. They don't cuss me out or mock me, which I see as friendly banter at times, but sometimes it hurts to hear. But if I clap back, I'm seen as a wimp. Hopefully you get my drift. Basically, me being the pro-black person I intend to be, I want a lot of my circles around me to reflect me, but under some evaluation, my black mandem friends maybe just aren't the best for me. Do I stick by them or hang around my other friends that would value me better but aren't black? I'd feel like I'm jeopardizing my morals. And plus, how would you say is the most organic way to make new black friends without coming across as a beg? And his person's 19.
Wow.
They're like in college age. I think you make new friends. I feel like you make new friends over time, like when you work and all that. I feel like you just naturally make new friends as you go through life. I know that sometimes people say, "Oh, it's just friendly banter and stuff like that," but I think that people have got to be able to read the room to know when you're hurting people's feelings, and he is hurt by the thing that they say. And I think I don't know what it looks like when they're having serious conversations and you say they leave you out. Like, are you contributing and they're just dismissing what you're saying or whatever? Or are they having these conversations like outside of spaces that you're in? But if it's a thing where when you're there, they're just dismissing you, they're not showing you respect in that regard, bring it up to them and just be like, listen, I don't like when I'm trying to contribute to conversation and you guys just treat me, blah, blah, blah. And you mentioning you being a wimp or them calling you a wimp because you've clapped back at what they've said. I don't know, man. I just don't feel like these things are like good criteria for friendships. Like, you shouldn't treat your friends like that. You shouldn't. How can you say something at me, throw shade at me, and I throw shade at you, and then now I'm the wimp? No, you're the wimp for how you're reacting to my shade.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. So I feel like when it comes to friends, I feel like you make other friends, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having non-black friends. Like, I imagine that they're not your only black friends, but even if they were, you make new ones. If the ones that you have right now don't respect you the way they need to, because you're someone who is pro-black, because you're someone who cares about your culture and stuff, you will automatically gravitate towards people who are also like that. So you will never run short of black friends in your life because of how it is that you say you are. So if for this season you have to be friends with your white friends or whatever, that's fine. Like, that's not an issue. That will build up skills and whatnot. Like, that makes you a person who's able to relate to different people, and it means that you're somebody who whatever room you can be placed in, you'll be able to get on with people.
Exactly,
You're gonna need that. I don't know what kind of job you want to do. If you go into the corporate space, whatever space it might be, every space is corporate in one way or another. But it just means that whatever room you're placed in, you will have the social skills to relate to people of different cultures, and that's something that is brag-worthy. So
100%.
Yeah, man.
Also, I think you have to bear in mind, not to necessarily defend your friends, but just to see it from their perspective. Like, people mature at different rates, you know what I'm saying?
That's the thing.
And the thing that made you pro-black maybe is absent in their lives, you know what I'm saying? But if there's other value that they add to your life, they're good friends for other things, then chill with them when it comes to those type of things. You know what I'm saying?
Separate, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because everyone has different groups of friends for different things.
That's another thing,
you know what I'm saying? And so your friends that are more mixed, white or whatever, Asian, whatever it may be, like, if they're given the intellectual stimulation that you need, beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like Esseo was saying, I think that's a beautiful thing, because you won't find yourself as a pro-black person in the echo chamber.
Yeah.
It's good to hear the other perspective too, so you can strengthen your own views. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's value in having both.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I guess because you're young as well, again, just bear in mind, like, you guys, for the most part, ain't gonna be taking like life serious like that. You might be, and that's a beautiful thing.
You're mature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but some of those people around you, that's just how it is in our community, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
But like, stick with them, man. As long as obviously it's not infringing on your well-being, your mental health, and those things that you need to keep intact. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
I think you might even benefit as well from finding yourself around people that might be like a touch older than you, a couple years older than you as well. And again, even I feel like definitely share and spend time with all of your friend groups, especially the white ones as well, like everyone's saying. And in regards to your black friend group, I just hope it wouldn't discourage you as well, because again, I do think that's their responses, unfortunately, even though they're harming you. And again, take care of yourself if it's harming you, but don't let that affect you in thinking that you see my black friend groups, because
Yeah,
again,
don't
there's a
stereotype on-
million
yeah.
different types of black people as well. So you 100% find people that are on the same wavelength as you. So life is almost like a constant search of finding your tribe.
Yeah,
But stick to people that you love and love you as well. 100%.
Exactly. That's a word. Don't be a Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
In the world where you can be anybody. Well, good luck, babes. What's the next one? Next and last one. Person's 24. I'm having a hard time trying to explain to my brother certain things. My young brother is 20 and is a full-on genius. Brilliant kid, but he's not the most sociable and he's on the spectrum. He's a bit autistic and has Asperger's, but for the most part, he's calm. He's kind of like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. Oh, I would love him then. My brother wants a girlfriend, funnily enough now, and I wanted to try hook him up. So we went on Saturday to a party and we were just chilling and me and him saw something happen. Basically, there was a girl who was sitting next to us who got a touch from behind on her back by a guy, and she said to the guy, "Don't touch me, I didn't give you consent." And she gave a sign that she wasn't interested. About 20 minutes later, another guy comes up to the girl because she was a pretty girl and basically does the same thing to the girl, and she allows it and doesn't say anything. Sorry. It was kind of obvious that the girl thought the guy looked nice and that's why she allowed it. But my brother didn't understand and jumped in and tried to be a good guy and said, "Oh, don't touch her without her consent." The girl and guy both looked at my brother with a weird face and walked away, and my brother doesn't understand why the girl didn't see what he did as appreciative because he saw a lack of consent and just tried to stand up for her. Oh, he's a king.
Yeah, I did that.
I'm having a difficult time trying to explain the whole flirting versus harassment thing to him. Any advice? Love the show, by the way. That's such a wholesome dilemma. Well,
It's a difficult.
you can go.
Well, that is that was a difficult one with many angles. It's difficult. I feel like first of all, the brother, he did the right thing.
He did.
Regardless of the scenario.
That's a
But then
king,
again,
man.
at the same time, you don't want to just keep your eye open, I guess, to protect him.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to impede on someone, but at the same time,
He was protecting. That's a good thing.
exactly. And also, when it comes to like girls and stuff like that as well, sometimes you don't know the reason for the reaction that they're giving. Like, for example, let's say someone makes a joke that I'm not comfortable with about me, and I might laugh along with it, but deep inside, I'm
You're
not
uncomfortable
comfortable.
though,
Obviously, that doesn't necessarily seem like this situation, but keeping your eyes open for these things are good. In regards to flirting versus harassment and attraction and stuff like that, I'm not gonna lie. As a guy, I personally would give that advice that I don't think it'd be good to go down the route of thinking that consent is based on attraction.
Yeah,
I think we
definitely.
should all have a same base level of what we believe consent is.
Absolutely.
And just, you know what I mean, respect and controlling ourselves and stuff like that. And if we just approach things with a standard level of respect at all times, however it goes from there is up to the person to decide. But don't try and appeal in a different way, I guess. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Boy, maybe I'll just say that, well, obviously, start off with what he did was a good thing, because obviously he saw somebody that he thought might need his assistance. Innit? You know what I'm saying? But maybe teach him to lower the threshold. So, for example, if it happened where she said to the guy, "Don't touch me," then step in.
Yeah.
As opposed to assuming
She
that
needs protection.
you know what I'm saying, prior to her reacting.
But because he's autistic though, you see the thing of black and white.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say something crazy.
Yeah.
But
maybe actually, because what you
Asperger's, right?
Yeah,
They
as
have
that.
differences in social cues and stuff.
Yeah.
So it will be kind of difficult to have him just understand you
to understand that,
right from the jump. But it's not impossible.
It's that's the thing. It's not. I was gonna say ask ChatGPT.
True.
Like how would? Because I feel like something like this, it's difficult because I'm sure he understands things. He saw that happen the first time.
Yeah.
Then the second time for she didn't like that last time. So blah blah blah. I think you just have to explain that to me. I think what Esseo said is right in terms of let him know that consent isn't dependent on attractiveness or whatever that case is. Like there's just a baseline for consent. This is the criteria for consent, and that's it. But I think just explain to him that she knew that guy, but she didn't know the other guy or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because even though you've seen it as an outsider, as you think that that's another guy that just approached her fresh, she might have prior history with that guy. She might have known him. That might be an old friend. She could know him. So I guess that's a way to explain to him where that made her uncomfortable. and so she reacted that way, and so she wasn't uncomfortable when this guy came up to her, and so that's why she's responded in a friendly manner. I thought that's a good way to explain it, because it's about, again, her feeling uncomfortable, and that's what it's about. But it's really lovely that he stood up for her though. But was that the only dilemma? I think it was, wasn't it?
Navigating the difference between flirting and harassment.
Yeah, to him. Yeah, I think you just have to. It's about people being uncomfortable and putting people in uncomfortable situations, but definitely teach him not to go around just touching people unprovoked. So that's the baseline for navigating flirting versus harassment. Do you get what I mean? Like, you can talk to a girl and see how she's and blah blah, but respect people's personal space.
I think you have to respect personal decisions as well. Don't
exactly.
villainize the girl either for her
exactly.
decision before you start going down Insta
Exactly.
route.
But I hope that helps. I don't know if we did help, but I hope that does help. Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay. Should we wrap this up?
Yep.
Right.
All right, people. Thank you once again for tuning in. It was a brilliant show, man. Today we spoke about quite a few things, man. We spoke about the ship carrying chemicals. Carrying the chemical. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, there was basically some ships carrying chemicals that crashed into each other, basically, and it was terrible. We also spoke about the UK and the fact that the Prime Minister is saying that it's in the worst of worlds situation, and pretty much talking about the welfare state, saying there needs to be a big change. And probably on Thursday, I'll talk about that in People's Journal. We spoke about the government rejecting calls for an inquiry into an MP's murder as well. And obviously the wife and daughter are basically upset about that, because why are you doing it for Southport and you're doing it for Nottingham, but you're not doing it for what happened to my husband, who was actually an MP that was killed. We also spoke about the US and Ukraine officials who arrived in Saudi Arabia for talks. Hopefully they can repair what happened at the Oval Office. And we also spoke about the US envoy's secret talks with Hamas, which is making Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet very upset. We spoke about the US shares dropping sharply because of Trump's decisions, economic decisions. But Trump is basically saying, you know what, you can't rule out a recession. But long term, this will be beneficial for Americans. This is what he's saying. We also spoke about the drone attacks that are killing hundreds of civilians across Africa. And we spoke about the Supreme Court in America, over there, basically, that are looking to challenge the conversion therapy bans that's happening. And obviously a lot of Christian, well, let me not say a lot of, but Miss Charles, who is a licensed counselor and practicing Christian in Colorado Springs, is basically saying, this is messing up what I'm doing for those who actually want to change their preferences and things of that nature. We also spoke about Colombia urging the UN to remove the cocoa leaf from harmful substances from the substance list. And of course, for the topic of the day, we spoke about colorism, preferences, and hidden desires. You know what I'm saying? Are we all secretly hypocrites? Do we all have preferences? And is that a bad thing? And of course, we had Esseo in the building.
Sure,
you know
did.
What I'm saying? Thank you for coming.
Man, I appreciate you definitely.
Very much.
Much love for having me.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Remember?
Oh, I forgot to say, I wanted to ask the girlies, anyone watching Real Houses of Atlanta, if you want to talk about it, let me know. I could actually commit to. So I think I want to get back into it because Portia's back.
Is Candy back?
No, Candy left. And I think she was the last OG to leave. And I heard that, I think Kenya's on her thingy because she out here put an appropriate picture up of one of her cast members on the show. I don't know how the producer, anyone didn't see her bring in a big poster of the woman doing ungodly things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they had beef or something like that. So Kenya goes, like, Kenya's what you upset me, I will go all the way kind of thing.
I like Kenya, I don't like stuff like that.
I don't like, yeah, Kenya's actually, I like her to become a mum. I love watching her as a mum because she never had a mum. And she posted a video the other day of her going to her daughter's school. It was like career day. And it was just the sweetest thing. Like, just to see, like, her just do what she never had. It's really lovely. It's really, really wholesome. But yeah, so if any of the girlies want to actually talk about it, but you have to come on Discord though, but very quickly intro. If not, I might just do a, not Discord. I might just do a Discord channel. So we can gist about that actually, because I've only got a few Mondays left here. So that being said, I'm going to do it on Discord instead, because that's easy. Everyone can catch up. So after the Sundays, we can yap about it in there. But please don't forget to follow us on our socials, The Day After TNB. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. We finally got to 6K.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Love it. Thank you very much, people. It's a crawl getting up there. Please don't forget to like the video as well. And thank you to everyone who called in today. Big up Stacey, big up Christelle, big up Bathroom Diaries. And of course, big up our lovely guest.
You're too kind. Big up you guys as well. I love what you guys are doing as well. I love this place, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But yeah, we'll see you guys. Oh, no show tomorrow. See you on Thursday.
Yes.
Bye.
Peace.
I'll put up a message this time, though, to be honest.
Why didn't you put up a message last time?
Yeah, I tend to only do it on Discord, but I need to put it on Instagram.
I see it on the YouTube though.
That's when it is I remember to do it.
Fair.
Yeah.
Bye.
Right, see you on Thursday.
Peace.
See ya.